Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I hope you get to check out my good fiends at A Decade of Horror on the PSVG Podcast Network. I hope you love them like I do. They're a scream.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Boo! What's up? Greetings,
Hello.
all you ghouls and ghosts. Hit you in the nostalgic feels. How you guys
Ghosts
feeling?
and goblins.
I missed
Yeah.
that intro.
Yeah, right?
That's so
How's
good.
it feel? I was like, look at this, we're recording again. I see our header, I see your guys' faces. I don't think we've recorded, Lucas, since the last time we've done this.
No, I don't think so. I think you're
That
right.
is sad.
I know.
Hey, do you know what, Lucas?
What?
I did record a Tawny,
That's true.
and it was for
Wow.
a horror film.
What?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm leaving. You guys can't do this without me. I told you that. It's a clause in the thing I signed that said
You
I would
look
do
so much
this.
like Kyle, I figured it'd be okay.
I hope the stream's okay.
Wow.
I was hoping
Yeah,
to
I got
see
my
some
YouTube
folks.
up. It looks good.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Checking for comments.
Well, I'll go ahead and intro us in. Welcome to A Decade of Horror, the Patreon special. I'm calling this the sequel, keeping things, standard in the horror genre. It's gonna be a little different than our normal show. We're gonna keep some of our fun things, but like I know I for one did not dive in and put in as much effort as I did when we were doing our standard production. And I told you guys multiple times not to do the same. Now, if you did, I can't stop you, but I was like, I am not going to write down all the actors and all the references and all the director names. I don't have anything like that for this show.
Sure.
So
I treated this like high school, so I just did it like 5 minutes before we started recording.
just showed up.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is it's gonna be a little bit more casual. So on the docket for tonight, we're gonna talk about some of our favorite horror movies or horror things that we've done or seen since the last time we recorded, which has been has it been 2 years?
I really feel like it's been 2 years, but I think it's only been 1 year.
Is that it?
I think we did it
I said
last
the
year.
Halo demo the other day was 2 years ago, and it was just a year ago. But it feels like it was 2 years ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, I keep thinking it's 2 years, but I really think we did this last year during the pandemic, which is why it was easier for us to get some of those movies watched.
That's true.
Hmm.
That's true.
And Host was one of those movies, so it definitely was last year.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
Good point.
That's a good movie. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about what we're planning to do for this Halloween. So we can give you a list of movies that we'll be watching. If you want to watch along with us and talk about it in the Discord and stuff, we'd love to have you. And then we've got some questions and some listener shout-outs. So before we get into Josh's fun facts since the last time we recorded, I just wanted to ask how everybody's been. How are you guys doing? It's been a year. We haven't done this in a bit. I haven't talked to Lucas much. I've talked to Josh, but only a little. But, we're still in pandemic mode. We're still kind of... I don't know how you guys are doing, like, with your jobs. Like, I started going back to work, and then it got bad, and they sent us back home. So, like, we had, like,
Oh, wow.
a false start. And they were like, we got back. I was there for 3 weeks. I went back for 3 weeks. They're like, never mind. Go back. Go back.
Yeah.
Retreat. Run away. So, Lucas, how's it been, man?
Good. Things are slowly returning back to normal now. My son is back in school. I was watching my nephew for a little bit there, which kind of axed some of my free time that I got back from my son going to school because different age from my daughter, who is 2, he's 1, napping at separate times. So it was a whole debacle because I was like, oh, I'm going to get some time back to be able to watch movies or play games or whatever. And then life had other plans. And
Sure.
so now that's done. And I'm kind of back to having some of that time back to do these things. So I'm just now kind of catching back up. This year has been kind of a slow one for me for movies in particular, but also just everything, games, any of the stuff I do.
Did you feel like a respite after doing Decade of Horror. Like I went on a non-horror hiatus for like a good 6 or 7, 8 months there for a while. I just kind of stopped.
Yeah, it kind of, well, see, I did sort of both. Towards the end there, or like right after we were done, I watched some of the stuff that we talked about, which is what's on my list. And then it kicked in and I was like, okay, Christmas movies now. And then since that, it was like, it was just like normal movies from then on.
Sure. No, I did kind of the same. I just kind of took a break. I actually have the list of movies that you guys recommended to me that I was going to watch. Didn't watch them. Didn't watch them at all. But I still have the list. I didn't get rid of the list. I have all my lists. I have my little document here, and I'm like looking through my document. I'm like, oh, look at the nostalgia, all the feelings. But yeah, no, it took me a while, and then I kind of came out of it, like I think over the summer a little bit, and then now the juices are flowing again. Though I have got a full lineup of what I'm ready to. But my horror movie watching has always been somewhat seasonal.
Yeah,
my wife doesn't like to watch horror movies. She only watches them with me like during the season, and like if it's a big, like go to the movie horror movie, she'll like that's the exception. I can't just get her on a Thursday night to watch The Descent with me. Like she's not, like she's not going to do that. Right? Yeah. So it's either I'm watching it by myself, or something like that. So. For me, once we got done, I was like, okay, I'm good for a while. Like I've watched 400 horror movies in the last 8 weeks, and we can take a break. But outside of that, just normal stuff, games, podcasts, all that jazz, which I know, Josh, you've been up to as well.
Of course. All that normal stuff. I do feel, since we recorded Decade of Horror, I know I'm like, and I'm appropriately in the middle on my screen at least. I know that, like, when we talked about ending Decade of Horror last year, I was like, I'm the only one who wants to keep going. But of course, I respect, like, why we didn't keep going. But for me, I definitely didn't watch as many horror movies. But it wasn't a burden for me. I was actually like, it's a genre I have to watch by myself. Because, I had to trick my wife into watching Midnight Mass, which I'm still proud that I tricked her into watching all 8 episodes before she realized it was horror. But like, when we did Decade of Horror, I was really forcing myself any free time I had that I could potentially, like, there was moments I was watching horror movies on my phone just so I could watch them and to try to keep up with you guys as far as like notable or maybe not even known horror movies. I really enjoyed that. So I watched a lot of horror movies, but I also feel like it was the appropriate amount of movies I should watch a year. And like compared to this year, I'm like, man, I had a Shudder. I keep paying Shudder every month and I'm not watching crap on their thing. Like, what am I doing? You got to
get myself? Those Black Friday promos and stuff where you get it for like, you get a year for like $40. That's right. What you need to do.
And I'm just paying $6 a month. And every time I see that charge
like come through, I go, sucker.
I should watch a movie on this thing.
Yeah. So actually use it.
Yeah. So
you want to watch the Joe Bob special with me? It's next week, Josh.
I definitely will. I will watch that with you. No matter
Are you serious?
Much I hate it. Yeah.
I was going to say, because the last time we spoke and talked to you, were like, I hate this guy so much.
I hate him, but I'll watch it with you. I will totally watch it with you.
He's having a I don't know, like an appearance here in Atlanta soon, and I was like, oh, COVID wasn't so bad. I'd like to go meet him.
When is it? Is it on a Saturday?
It's the 8th. It's the day the OLED comes out, and Far Cry and Metroid and everything. It's that day.
I work day shift Friday, so I'll be home by 3.
Oh wow.
I'm game if you want to do something.
See, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, am I going to watch it live? I typically like watching it live. I'm not sure if you guys have ever noticed, but when they do these specials, I usually jump on.
Yeah, we watched Halloween live together.
Right. Yeah, they do these seasonally. They usually do about 4 or 5 of these a year. There's usually a Christmas one. There's like a Thanksgiving one. There's usually like a spring break or a summer one. Yeah. And I like jumping online on Twitter and like interacting with the community. They have a very, very devoted community. They're always chatting together and stuff. I actually remember last year when I got the flu, they were doing one. I don't remember what it was, but I had the flu and I was sick as a dog and I was in my chair, like all curled up with my blanket, and that's what I did.
It was the flu season
that
special.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I remember.
I'm game. If you want to do something, let me know. I'm game.
Yeah,
for
it was pretty bad, but it was so funny because like Darcy is really really great on the social media handles, and
Yeah.
so like we had it's almost like as much fun as the movies. And I remember that time they picked some awful movies. I remember I was watching, I was just like, these movies are terrible, but it's more fun to watch it because you feel like you're watching with people. You know, it's like a watch party. You can see everybody like making jokes or comments about
Yeah.
the scenes and stuff as you keep going. So I always enjoy those. But yeah, to piggyback off of you, one of the things I was thinking I would do, I just either didn't get the time or to be honest with you, just, I don't know, just didn't want to as much as I thought I would. But like typically when we've done this in the past, I would like look up the year. So I would like go and research like best movies of 2021 and like, what am I missing? I didn't
You're
do that
not
all for this
missing anything.
episode. I didn't do anything for this episode. Like I just wrote down, I don't even know what year these movies came out. These are just the memorable, notable movies that I could remember that I've watched. Like in the lab. I may even have one that I talked about in our 2020 episode. No idea.
If
Yeah,
you
I was wondering
if
about
you
that
wiki
too.
horror movies for 2021, there's only 6 movies and one of them hasn't even come out yet.
Wow.
Oh,
I was
no.
going to say that because it does feel like, well, last year,
Actually, 2 of them haven't come out yet.
when the pandemic really got rolling last year, all of our
Yeah.
horror movies got delayed out. You know, I do remember that on the
Yes.
episode. We talked about it. Everything got delayed out. Listeners, if you're listening to this, is October, what, 2nd, 1st?
October
Second?
2nd.
2nd, October 2nd. They're still delayed. Like we still haven't got, they still haven't come out.
We
for
got
the most
Fast
part.
9, but we don't have
Yeah.
the movies we want.
Yeah, well, most of them still haven't come out. So, but they're coming out soon, or at least some of them. So I'm excited about those. But yeah, let's get into the show proper, Josh. 13 minutes in, why don't you hit us with some fun facts since the last time we
boy.
talked?
Here we
Yes.
go. Okay, so here's what has happened in 2020
I need the
One.
rum.
so far. This is chronologically. I'm just not going to give you the dates. The United Nations declared 2021 as the International Year of Peace and Trust.
What?
So we're in good shape, right?
No, we're not.
So there's no way I'm gonna
International?
say anything is bad, right?
That's awful.
Okay, so directly following our International Year of Peace and Trust. Supporters of President Donald Trump attacked the United States Capitol, disrupting certification of the 2020 presidential election and forcing Congress to evacuate. 5 people died during the not quote unquote, just fact riot.
How? Hang on a second.
Including a
Domestic
police
terrorism.
How completely like bizarre was that day?
It's weird to think that that happened this year, and it's also weird. I think it must. I know it's not comparable, but I think it must be like what it was like for my parents to see JFK get shot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I could see
Because
that.
you're like,
was
this
weird
is
because
not possible.
I was watching it. My memory of it was, I feel like that was more shocking almost because I was watching, I saw on Twitter, I think we all started sharing on Discord and stuff. You see the things on Twitter, it's like protesters are getting angry, like they're pushing over gates and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, things are getting crazy. I need to put on the news. And I put on the news and you see people speaking, you see people marching, but you know, like we've seen, you know, worse or, you know, and then
Yeah,
all of a
for
sudden
sure.
it like really takes a drastic turn. Like now they're on the lawn and all of a sudden you see cops like trying to like push them back and all of a sudden you see cops being like, fall back. And then they're in the building and then like the bizarre thing, you start seeing people like in offices putting their feet up the desk. You're like, what is
Taking
happening?
pictures wearing yak heads.
Stealing
I remember the
podiums.
entire time thinking, I was like, how is this possible? Like, where are the police?
Yes.
I had no idea that you could just walk in and take over things in DC. Like, it just seemed way too easy.
Yeah, crazy. I think a lot of people learned that day that DC they don't have their own police because of their state status.
Yeah.
And they have private security and our president held off the National Guard to save
Just
his own
bizarre.
whatever. But the event is classified as a domestic terrorist attack, which is a step in the right direction. Speaking of, hesitantly, Joe Biden is inaugurated as the 46th president of the United States,
The oldest president, isn't he?
becoming the oldest individual to hold the office. Correct.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's got some old
All right.
Biden moments already on record. So
Yes, he
I
does.
saw somebody say, I think I saw a Twitter person say something along the lines of, we can't when you're 80 years old, we don't trust you to drive, but pretty much everybody running the country is 80 and over.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's a good point.
I would have elected 102-year-olds who come into office after what we just went through.
Anybody. I would have elected
Well,
a
of
baby.
course. Don't get me wrong, but I worry about. I'm like, he looks so tired.
He has a 4-year term. Not that we're
Well,
being political.
anybody who comes out of there, they look like they've aged like 20 years.
Yeah, and how's that
Yes.
possible, Joe?
Yeah, he's going to be
I know.
120 when he comes out of there.
He's gonna look like a mummy. Yeah, horror appropriate.
He's going to blow away in the wind.
Okay, buckle up. Ready? Here we go. Remember, this is chronological. I may not have updated certain things later on, so just remember that when I say the COVID-19 pandemic hits a confirmed number of 100 million cases worldwide,
Oof.
and this is chronologically, so pretty much right after Biden was elected. Moving on, NASA's Mars 2020 mission, containing the Perseverance rover and Ingenuity helicopter drone, lands on Mars at
Yeah, that was cool.
Jezero Crater after 7 months of travel. Great news for the United States. And NASA.
It's all fake.
And that
Deep
was
state.
defunded by Trump.
The Earth is flat.
That's true.
I mean, I didn't put
Well-
that info in here, but that was probably covered in 2020. Hideki Matsuyama wins the 2021 Masters tournament, becoming the
did.
first man from Japan to win a major golf tournament. And
The
he
man
picked the
from
best one
Japan.
to win. Speaking of Japan, Japan's government approves the dumping of radioactive water of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean
Oh,
over the
good.
course of 30 years.
Isn't this how
With full
Godzilla starts?
Yes, with full support of the International Atomic Energy Agency, but it is also opposed by China, South Korea, and Taiwan.
All the places it's going to go to.
So, best of luck, California. Scientists announced they successfully injected human stem cells into the embryos of monkeys, creating the quote-unquote chimera embryo.
Ooh.
So, good news. Planet of the
Good
Apes.
news.
It's going to happen. Back to COVID-19. The global death toll for COVID-19 surpasses 3 million human beings. SpaceX successfully flies, lands, and recovers a Starship prototype for the first time after 4 unsuccessful previous attempts. SpaceX is on the move. July 23rd to August 8th, the 2020 Summer Olympics are held in 2021 in Tokyo, Japan. I didn't pull up. This isn't a sports podcast, so I didn't pull up
Who won?
medals, who got the most.
Damn it, Josh. You know what? I will say this about that.
I covered the Masters. You're welcome.
I didn't watch nearly as much of the Olympics as I feel like I normally do, and it felt like
Yeah.
I feel like
really-
everyone said that.
Yeah, because it was super strange and weird and quiet and silent, and it was just like hard to be into it. It's like, yeah, I mean, they're there, and I respect their athletic, achievements and all that, but it's like, it's not the Olympics. It doesn't
I
feel
don't-
like the Olympics.
I don't know how much controversy takes place during the Olympics like this, but I feel like there was a lot about like the gymnastics teams and
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the individual athletes, and I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Did you
And
see the
I feel-
cardboard beds they tried to make them sleep on?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something about anti-sex stuff.
Yeah.
Basically.
because they're always,
If you try to fuck in this bed, it will break.
it'll break.
And
them.
then-
Okay,
like-
fine.
Little did you know, there's other places you can.
Well, it's
do
just
that.
everybody just started posting photos of all their
Outside.
beds on the ground, like all of their
Yes.
beds like crunched in and on the ground and like fun.
Oh boy.
All right, here we go. We're gonna end
yeah.
this on a good note. Lucas, if you want to quietly sing "In the Wings of an Angel" behind me, you can, but you don't have to.
In the arms of an angel.
You know, I mean, yeah. you got it.
That just makes me think of dead puppies, though. So
Well, here you go. Perfect.
great.
2021. Phil Spector, dead. Hank Aaron, dead.
In the
Larry King, dead.
arms
Cloris
of an
Leachman, dead.
angel.
Christopher Plummer, dead.
Hang on a
Larry
second,
Flint,
Josh. When you guys
Shoulder
were talking
plumber?
about the angel and everything, I was like, for whatever reason, my mind kept thinking of that awful, like, rock pop song is like the lips of an angel.
Oh.
That's what I thought.
With the lips of an angel.
Isn't that a Nickelback song?
I don't know, but like I know
I thought
that
it was-
Does
people
it shine down?
people make fun of it on Vine or on
Hinder.
TikTok, so I
Hinder.
often think of it. So I thought that's what Lucas was going to start
Right.
doing. And then in my head, I was like, "This is so weird. Why are they
That would
doing this?"
also
And
be appropriate.
he hits the Sarah McLachlan, completely throws me off guard.
I just think of dead puppies, right?
I was gonna say you thought that I thought "Lips of an Angel" reminded me of Dead Puppies. That's a weird
No,
amalgamation.
that was Donnie. Arms of an angel, not lips of an angel.
I got it.
Okay, we're still going. Larry Flint, dead.
Oh, God.
Rush Limbaugh, dead. Jessica Walter, dead. George
Yeah.
Siegel, dead. Beverly Cleary, her sidewalk ended. DMX, dead. Prince Philip, also dead.
DMX.
Bernie Madoff, dead. Ed Asner, dead. Norm MacDonald, dead. Gina Carano's career, dead.
Hmm.
And that's
Pouring
where
out.
we end 2021.
We're out. This has been a lovely, an apropos lovely update.
Yeah.
Josh's fun facts.
I gotta keep on morbid.
Always ending with "Who died."
This needs to be a bit on Board of Video Games. I'm here for
Oh, I
Josh's
could-
fun facts.
Yeah, I could totally. Actually, that's a great idea.
None of them are fun.
Okay, so the first thing I have is favorite horror movie since we last ended the podcast. And I did ask the listeners for some shout outs. So Brendan Myers writes in, he goes, "It's not a movie, but how stupid some of my coworkers are is absolutely terrifying me."
Oh boy. Well, I think we all live that.
Haley writes in, Fear Street trilogy. Cousin Cecil also shouts one out for Fear Street and says, does Amazon Them count? I have not watched Them on Amazon. I don't know what that is.
Let's find out. Amazon them. It
Think-
sounds familiar, right?
All
Isn't
capitalized.
that the one where the black family moves into a white neighborhood or something like that? I believe.
Yes,
Yes.
that is the one. It is the. You know why I didn't watch this? Because it seemed like a cash grab on Get Out. And then Devin was talking about how this wasn't a good representation of black culture. So I was like, oh,
I
yeah,
think I remember seeing.
I have no
him say
reason.
that.
Like, if one of our own family members here in PSVG is saying like, this is not a good step forward for black culture, I'm like, okay, cool.
Then you're out.
I'll take your word on that.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Whitley says, this one's from 2019, but I watched it recently and it's a favorite of mine. It's on Netflix and it's called Polaroid. Have either of you seen Polaroid?
Polaroid.
Look at this photograph. No,
Look at
It's
this
not-
graph.
If it's not Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo, let's see. Polo. If I could spell, this would be a lot easier. You know? Why do they
Yeah.
gotta make us?
I
Ooh,
see.
Polaroid. Okay. I get the idea.
PG-13 though.
I get the idea. I didn't see it though. I have not seen this. I'll put it on the list.
Nice. Let's see here. Secret Friends Unite says Freaky and the Fear Street trilogy
yeah.
were very fun.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Freaky.
Oh yeah, we are.
Kyle the Pug shouts out Friday the 13th, parts 6 and 7.
Wow.
Shout out. There you go. And the last one I've got is Paul Calicote. Well, I'd have to thank a decade of horror for turning me on to Southbound, which I really
Oh,
enjoyed.
really?
Wow.
There's somebody out
Okay.
there listening to us. I'm
Yeah.
glad you liked it. I also like that one. I'm not into anthologies, and I like that one quite a bit. So, let's start with Fear Street trilogy.
Yeah.
Because this is an interesting one for me because I don't like it. And then here's the hard part, though. I actually asked my wife just moments ago. We were finishing a movie ourselves, and I was like, "Can you remind me why I don't like it?" Because I haven't watched it in so long, and I haven't gone back to think about it. Like I knew it was going to be on here. At first, I was going to come on and be like, "Look, it's not for me," and just let you guys cover it. But that's not fair. Like dissenting opinions are just as valuable as enthusiastic ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know. I don't remember all of the aspects, so I don't know if I can do a very good job of supporting my opinion here. But my lasting memory Fear Street. I only watched the first one, which was like the '90s one, right?
84. 80.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought it was
84.
'90s flavored, right?
Was it 94? Maybe
'Cause
94.
I remember then they have like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and stuff in the music.
Yeah, you're right.
The music was great.
Maybe the second one was 84.
They had like. I remembered it being
here.
very '90s flavor. Maybe it was. Maybe I watched the
94,
second one
94.
instead. Oh, okay.
94, 78, 666, 1666.
The '90s one seemed like it was very derivative of Scream.
Yes.
You know, if you're a derivative person, like a lot of times there's a debate on whether or not you're being derivative or if you're honoring the past. I felt like that one was mostly derivative, but to be honest with you, my lasting memory of it is I don't think the dialogue was very good, and like I didn't really understand. Like I just don't think I got it. I remember I actually did look in the Discord right before we recorded. I just typed in Fear Street because I wanted to go back, and I remember asking like, do I need to read the books? Like I remember coming away from it like I don't get it. Like people liked it so much, it had so much enthusiasm, and I was really excited to be into like a trilogy and like have like this monthly episodic thing that I was a part of. But I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the dialogue or the plot or like just all of it kind of. I just thought it wasn't very good. And I was always really interested into knowing why so many people did, because I remember people were like, "Oh, it's the slasher's back." And I was like, "Really? It's not much of a slasher.
Right.
There's not a whole lot going on." So, yeah, I don't want to like just completely crap on it too hard, but because I know a lot of people like it. A lot of people wrote in, they shouted out. I know Josh liked it. I know Haley loves it a lot.
Yeah.
But for me, guys, it was a huge miss. I didn't like it at all. I don't even think I finished it.
I went into it not knowing anything about it, but I did know, the one thing I did know was it was based on older books, like books I should have read when I was in school that I just missed.
It was like pre-Goosebumps, right?
Yeah, it was pre Goosebumps, so that's like 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s. So I was honest, to be honest, when I saw these trailers, they all like debuted at the same time at like their Netflix festival. I was more excited that they were investing in horror than anything else. Like,
Mhm.
and we haven't seen something like this in the horror genre, or any genre really. There's 3 movies coming out. They're all connected, but they're coming out at the same time, like within 2 weeks of each other. And we haven't seen that. Like the closest we've seen is like films do that, which is like a year or two in between.
Mhm.
And even if it's a year, you think that's like a quick turnaround. Like you're like, whoa, only a year? So like this was unique in that regard for me. I watched the first one, 94. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was like a mix between Lost Boys and Stranger Things. But I
The
can
Stranger
also
Things
that
like
looms like
comparison.
heavy.
Yeah, like
right?
the whole we're gonna capitalize off your nostalgia and stuff, which is interesting
sure.
because like it's '90s in the sense that like the posters are changed on the wall and like I think then the movie opens like in a mall.
It's in a mall, like
Yeah,
a mall
so like
food court
it feels
area.
'90s, but like there's a lot of times in that I think with the characters and like at schools and stuff, like
Yeah,
it doesn't feel very '90s. It could almost be present day at times, and
and
that
it's
was
a
an
bit
interesting part
yeah.
of it.
It's a bit cliche to like pose your characters as being gay in the 90s at this point. It's fine
Yeah.
for the story, but I think like that's kind of expected now. You're like, oh my god, okay, it's a period piece, like it's in the 90s, and okay, we're gonna make someone gay, whether it's male or female, because we know that that is a struggle for them at the time, and it's really just feels like, I don't know, like gross, I guess.
Crazy fact: the movie was filmed like literally like in my backyard, like where we used to live.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
like right down the street.
Nice.
Didn't realize
Uh,
until that's the one thing I remember when we were watching. We're like, wait a minute, that's the courthouse. Like we used to live like right there.
Nice. Fear Street 78. I watched the whole thing, and camp survival horror movie isn't new to any of us talking right now. This one I did not like as much. I thought it was fine, but I'm still also thinking I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because I'm like, it's fine, because it's still unique. I stopped watching the third one maybe 35 minutes in.
Oof.
It was awful. And it's weird, forced dialogue. They're trying to make it take place in 1666, and nothing feels original or organic to that time. and they're reusing characters we've already seen, so it even makes it more. It makes it harder to like separate it from that timeline. And I know that we've seen, what's freaking Mike Richardson, the guy who did House on House on Haunted Hill and House on Haunting and
Yeah.
Oof. He's Mike Flanagan.
Bly Manor?
Oh, there we go. Mike Flanagan. Like, you can use the same actors to do different parts successfully because they're great actors. And trying to recast these kids, no offense to the kids, but they're kids. They're not Jodie Foster. They're just a kid who auditioned and they got the job. I don't know that any of their. In fact, they bury their best actress, which is Jordana Spiro. They bury her in the first movie in her house while she's watching the kids that are supposed to be being babysat. Like, she's arguably the most like successful actress in all of their credits. So it is weird, and I've definitely talked too much about Fear Street. But I would say overall, I think the first one is still worth watching. But I wouldn't. If you want to watch Fear Street Part 2, just go watch any Friday the 13th movie before 5, and you're good. Covered.
Well, you
Disappointing. I agree with Donnie. Disappointing.
I didn't watch
Nothing?
any of it. Nope. I knew of it. I knew what it was.
See, I feel bad. Do you ever get in that place where you like? I feel bad. Like I shout out, I'm like, hey, shout out your favorite horror things. And like 7 people are like Fear Street, and if you were asking my opinion, I would tell you it was awful. Like not bad, not like mediocre. I'd be like, it was really bad. Like, don't watch it.
When somebody says that, like you say it's bad after 7 people say it's good, that makes me want to watch it more than the 7 people saying it's good. Yes. Honestly, because I want to know why it's bad. Because I probably wouldn't have any ability to just watch it through just to see, but I'd be curious to like watch the first 30 minutes or whatever to see what you're talking about. Because like, it's hard for me to get over bad dialogue or the sellout feeling of like posting the posters on the wall, plastering them and being like, this is 90s. No, really, believe us, guys. But
don't you hear Nirvana in the background?
Yeah, that's how you know.
Yeah.
So like that stuff wouldn't escape my notice, I don't think.
It's like kill off Maya Hawke like immediately.
I know.
Which is very Scream, but like, love Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
I'm like, probably would have watched it longer if she stayed around.
I agree.
I remember the dialogue. It's just very cheesy, and maybe it's meant to be that way. And that's when I say now that you guys are talking about it, Josh, you kind of talking about it, it's kind of getting my juices flowing. I'm starting to remember. Remembering these characters. There's like that guy from the other. There's a guy from the other, like the other school, right? He's like just total douchebag. He's
the whole school, the whole opposite school.
Yeah, it's like jock, and then you've got like our main character. She's like, she's kind of cool, and grungy, and it's just like, I don't know, it just feels played out, and like the dialogue, and I just remember the story overall. I was like, this is dumb. And that's what I was like I just don't get it. Like, what am I felt like I was like, do I need to read the books? Like, what's missing? Why am I not as into this as other? Because I like Stranger Things, but unlike Stranger Things, Stranger Things feels like it was shot in the 80s. Like, it feels like the entire thing is being filmed through that lens. I didn't get that nostalgic feel from this. Like, it feels like they want you to think that, but there's so many little things that aren't right. Like it just doesn't feel the same.
Agreed.
Okay. Well, we did that one. So let's see here. I'll throw out the first one and we can keep going. I don't know how many of you guys you have.
I think I got like 7.
And I've got like 15, but I could probably run through like 5 of them in like a minute. But I want to throw out one that I didn't like, that I thought was interesting. It might save you guys a rental. I watched the documentary that recently released called Hail to the Deadites. This is an Evil Dead documentary about the fandom of the Evil Dead.
I was going to buy it.
It's boring. It
seems
really
like it from the
boring.
trailers.
It's so boring. It's like, look at this Evil Dead fan and the poster that they got. Like, that's the documentary, man. It's real bad. I was like, I expected there to be more Evil Dead in there, but it's literally just like fans showing off about being fans. Like that's really all.
It's
that
like the
there is.
fandom of it as opposed
Yeah.
to the making of, or
Yeah, and like you get some talks with like some people that were a part of the movies, like either on set designers and stuff, and like like you get like these little brief. They're like, I had no idea that people liked our movie, and you'll get a shot of them at like Comic-Con, and they'll just cut to be like, here's Beth, and she loves the Evil Dead, and look at her video she recorded about the Evil Dead in 2006, and you're like, what's happening? It's not good. It's pretty bad. I had to like turn it off. So not a great one. I wouldn't watch it.
that doesn't. No, I don't really want to watch somebody's video or film about other people's fandom of anything.
I've
honestly.
seen good ones. I've seen good ones that are interesting, but that's the thing. They're interesting. Like there's not really anything interesting about this.
Maybe that's the thing, is like it's got to be about, you got to have a fandom about something where you'd be like, why would you be a fan of that?
Yeah.
Like, change my mind.
There's
Why
a
do
hook.
I think this is dumb. Why?
Yeah, like-
why do you like it?
People being a fan of the Evil Dead is not unheard of. Like that's nothing new.
Right.
It'd
Yeah,
be like
exactly.
we're having a documentary of people that like video games, and like, look, here's people at a convention. Look at them playing video games. Like that's that. Like
Yeah, it's
this is
true.
Josh.
I'm
Josh
gonna
likes
convince
video
Kyle
games.
to
You know,
watch
like
Abba Hotep for Dollar Cinema.
ooh. So yeah, Hell of the Deadites, not a great one. So I wanted to get that
Bummer.
one out of the way because I was excited for it, thinking that there'd be, and like Bruce is there and like he says a thing or two, but like that's the thing. None of the things that you learn are really revealing. That's what I'm saying. There's no hook. You're not learning anything. They're really just multiple times they have different actresses and they're like, I had no idea that people liked their movie. It's crazy, right? And then you see like
Yeah.
a line of people waiting to talk to them, and it's like, how crazy is this? It's like, well, it's not that crazy. Like,
We've known this
all
for
these
a
years
while
have
now.
passed. Like we all like the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the least surprising thing ever.
Yeah. So
Oh, you like yeah, Evil Dead. You must be a true horror fan. No,
I assure you,
okay,
listeners,
You've seen horror movies.
patrons, I assure you that I've got movies that I do like. So it won't be all negative Nancy, but I thought I'd get that one out of the top. So Josh, why don't you hit us with one?
Okay, let's start with something I've been meaning to talk about because I went to my list of films from when we recorded last. So I know this
Yeah.
is a kind of cheating, but I did watch it this year. I finally watched The Conjuring,
Ooh.
Yeah.
and man, that didn't disappoint. I was
Oh,
like, there's
thank
no-
God.
I was like,
I
there's
was
no
waiting
way-
for it.
Man, it was awful.
Man,
There
it
was-
sucked. You had me
I
on
don't
my
know,
edge
like
of my seat, Josh.
I honestly went in thinking, there's no way this can live up to the hype.
Oh, it does.
And not only that, but it does something that I only associate with Ari Aster now. It breaks the mold on horror films because it introduces a scientific aspect to scare the crap out of everyone who disassociates with horror films because of logic.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second. This is a real house that I could go to right now.
You could buy it.
They're real people, and there's evidence for everything that they've worked on. It was very well done. I really thought when I started watching the movie, I was in for the generic haunted house movie.
That's the beauty of The Conjuring is that they reinvented the haunted house movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they make it, they intersperse real time or current day, depending on your view of that movie, with what's going on, but also you don't even necessarily know the people that are involved later are involved in the past. It's very
There's just
interesting.
enough realism to be
Yeah.
believable.
It's great. I love it. It's another reason why I love like that Expedition X show on Discovery, because they have a skeptic and a scientist who is the skeptic and a believer. So like I really enjoyed that like yin and yang to The Conjuring, and I was very surprised that was like the crux of the movie was like this going back and forth in time for proof of what's going on. So I thought it was great. It was
Have
terrifying.
you seen
in
The
best
Exorcism of
ways.
Emily Rose?
I haven't seen that.
Ooh,
no.
because that one is very much in the same, like in terms of like that juxtaposition and going back and
Yeah.
forth. That does that a lot as well, and it did it
That's the
before that
Connecticut
one.
one, right?
Yes, I would. And I really like that one if you're into like Exorcist type stuff. So if that's not on your kind of to-do list for this upcoming season, I definitely recommend it because it's not the same, but it's similar. So like The Exorcism of Emily Rose does paint that juxtaposition because it's like a true crime movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie about an exorcism being held in a court, like a court of law. Like
Yeah,
they're
that's
like,
crazy.
you know, does this person deserve, to go to jail for the death of this person, or exorcism like valid? And you kind of go back and forth based off of like testimony and stuff like that. And kind of like the Warrens and all that, it's kind of real. Like you look it up and like this really happened. So it does give you some of that stuff.
Nice. And so Donnie, well, you guys talked about this plenty. We don't have to talk more about The Conjuring.
I mean, I'm here for it.
I know.
Like
I
this,
know.
the bedsheet scene alone.
I started
It's good stuff.
watching the second one, and I haven't finished.
Is that the one in London, or is that the
Yeah,
third one?
it's in England. Yeah, London.
Yeah,
England,
the one in London I like a lot, but there are moments that make it not as good as the first. And it's
It
almost
seemed
like
weird.
I feel like if you could remove a few things, like it'd be better than the first one. If you could just remove a few of the things where they almost go too far, I feel like it's like you're ruining it. You're taking it too far. Like I forget what it's called, but like the Tall Man. Like in that movie, it's like just take it out. Just take it out of the movie. Like I get what you're doing, but like this isn't The Conjuring. The Conjuring is grounded, and you're ruining it. Take it out, and it's a better movie.
But they also started with her working a far more interesting case, and then they cut to a totally different boring case. So I'll still finish it. Because I did like what I watched, and I liked the first one so much that they'll get me for the rest of the movies. But
well, you know me, I'm all here for the Conjuring universe, like you Marvel folks.
I was so surprised with how much I liked it. It was like Hereditary.
Just know that the Annabelles,
Midsommar.
They're like the Thor of the Conjuring. Like they're not.
Also, they're funny.
They're not very good. They're not very good.
Oh, okay. The first two
Annabelle
movies.
Creation is great. Like so anybody, when everybody asks me about the Conjuring universe, they're like, "Oh my god, tell me all about it." First thing I always tell everybody is, watch them, but don't write off Annabelle just because you watch Annabelle. Like don't write it off forever. If you want my opinion, don't watch Annabelle. Like the movie titled Annabelle. Don't watch it. It's awful. The second one also is like not great, but like it's watchable. But watch Annabelle Creation. Like that one's really, really good. And if you want to watch Annabelle Comes Home, I also liked Annabelle Comes Home. I think Lucas, you weren't as into that one as much, right?
I can't remember which one I watched, but yeah, I wasn't.
That's the one
it.
somewhat fantastical.
Starts in an apartment or something.
They're at
like
their
that,
home.
some girls.
Yeah, they're at their home. So the thing about Annabelle Comes Home is that movie sets up the universe. That's the movie that ties it all together. That's like the Avengers of the Conjuring thing. Like that movie brings all the different cases and kind of makes them a part of this one thing. So if anything, you might want to watch that one first and then watch the other movies, Josh, because it might make more sense. Or vice versa, right? Watch all of them and then watch that one last, because you'll see The Nun, you'll see Annabelle, you'll see Conjuring things, you'll see all of these cases represented, and it also lays the groundwork for like some of their future plans. And I don't know if they'll ever get to it, but
Nice.
we're going to talk a little bit more about The Conjuring.
Cool.
Lucas.
Yeah, I think it was Annabelle. I don't know what I watched. I'll have to go
Spookus
back
Lucas.
and look.
I
Yeah,
remember because I went to the
ooh.
movie theater and watched Annabelle Comes Home, and I remember you watched it because I liked it a lot. And if my memory serves, you were like, "I don't understand. Like, why is there a wolf, and why is all this stuff going on, and like, where's the smoke coming from?" And I was like, "Yeah, like if you don't know all these things, it's gonna miss. Like you have to be. It's like the Avengers, right? Like Endgame. Like you've got to be in on it. If you're not in on the meta, it looks ridiculous."
Yeah, gosh. It feels, as much as it felt like we did Decade of Horror 2 years ago, it feels like when I watched some of these movies, it was like 4 years ago.
A lifetime ago.
My memory is so bad. My question to you guys is, do you want me to start with the good stuff, or do you want me to start with the bad stuff and work my way
Dealer's
up?
choice, man.
Yeah, whatever you
I
want.
started with something awful just to get it out of the way.
All right, well
I
then,
didn't.
I feel like awful is more fun, so let's go back to awful.
Uh-oh.
So I tried to watch Willy's Wonderland, and I did.
It's on my wish list. It's on my
Me
wish
too.
list.
It's on my
Oh,
wish
no.
list.
Oh no.
All right.
Go on.
Okay, so I don't think I'm the intended audience here. I think that I can't give it enough of a pass to have fun with it, if that makes sense, because I know what they're trying to do. Like, I know not to take it seriously. I know it's trying to kind of like go for the Five Nights at Freddy vibe.
This is like
and sort of
Nicolas
play off of
Cage
that.
stuck in Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, I didn't know this. He does not have one line in the entire movie, just so
What?
you know.
I thought he was the main
It-
actor.
He is. He doesn't speak.
He's trying.
What? He's silent protagonist?
He's
Yes.
trying to one up people from before him.
Nick Cage? This can't be good.
It's a very, let's just say it's a very physical role.
Okay.
Like, I
Sounds
don't know.
horrible.
It, like, the idea could have been good if it was executed well, but
I'm moving
just,
it down my wish list.
It just felt too cheap to me. Like,
It's
it
off
felt like
mine.
it felt like a film student's movie. It really did. I don't know
Wow.
what the costumes for the like. I know the animatronics aren't going to be actual robots or anything, but I don't know. I felt like they cheaped out too much on what I would
I
say.
thought
is
I was
like,
signing up to watch Nick Cage beat up actual robots.
right, and you want the robot masters to be badass too, right? You
Right.
want them to look cool, but
Yeah.
they're kind of goofy and they just look like some friends of the directors who dressed up for the sake of playing the monsters, and
Oh no.
they just aren't. They're not scary. They're goofy. And it has that very tongue-in-cheek attitude, which is fine. Like, I can do a comedy horror movie. That's fine. It's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't land. It doesn't land for me. It just aggravated me. There were a lot of things where I'm just like the whole idea of the movie is basically that these weirdo, like, this group of weirdo people all kind of got together and they somehow inhabit the bodies of these animatronics because they used to work there or something. I don't even remember, but the animatronic robot people are inhabited with the souls of these awful people who lived lives in this town where this fun park is at, this wonderland, if you will. And
Okay.
so, like, they're trying to give this backstory to why the town would be beholden to this one location with these people. They basically funnel people purposefully there, which is why Nick Cage is there. And they're hoping that eventually someone will, well, the owner's hoping that somebody will clear out the mess. But it doesn't matter to them either way, because either they continue with like their bad deal that they have with these robots, that they'll leave the town alone, they'll stop abducting kids from the town if they bring them souls, basically, or this guy gets rid of all of them and they can open the park back up. It sounds good in theory, but the way that it's like it works, it's kind of like, well, why don't they just like burn the place down, or why don't they just ignore them and just, because if this guy can just walk up to them and
Sure.
literally just pull them apart, like, why don't you take your shotgun and just blow them away? There's a lot of gaps in my ability to sustain my disbelief or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just like everyone here is acting dumb. None of this makes any sense. People are acting like characters in a horror movie instead of people. And when that starts happening, when the writing is just servicing the fact that they want Nicolas Cage to beat up animatronics, then I start to check out. You know what I mean? So
I gotcha.
it was a bummer. Like, I wanted to have fun. I didn't rent this to like hate it. I rented it because I wanted to have fun. I was kind of looking for like
For the
a
record, you love
Mandy.
Mandy and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mandy or Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be great, but it has to hit that certain threshold, and it really didn't for me. I gave it 1.5 stars out of 5. Like,
Whoa.
it just,
That's low.
I'm telling you, I was mad at it, and
Maybe,
It's hard to
maybe I
explain
won't.
why.
Maybe I'll wait for it to hit a free service or something instead of renting it, because I
It's
was
on
actually
Hulu.
going to. Oh, is it? I was going to
Yeah.
give it a rental.
And I know that's not
Don't.
free, but I mean, we're all paying for.
Oh, I have
Hulu,
Hulu
right?
Live TV.
Yeah.
So
So you get it.
I
you get
mean,
access.
I think like Kevin loved it. I think he thought it was hilarious. So
I
there
know.
are
I
people
was
who
gonna say it's ironic that the person who hates everything liked
Liked
that
it.
movie.
that's not ironic. That's
Yeah.
about on brand. That sounds
It's
about
like a
right.
Dr. Disrespect movie.
yeah. Again, my takeaway is it can be dumb and fun and silly.
Yeah,
and
you can
still
be
horror,
entertained by something dumb.
but this is cheap and bad, and
Gotcha.
I can't overlook that.
That makes sense.
All right, I'm going to try to pick it up a little bit, and let's talk about Candyman. Have either of you seen the new Candyman?
No,
That's
but I
on my
saw-
to-do list.
I saw you were watching it, and I was so jealous, but I didn't want to rent it for $20.
Why not? You go to the
I
movies and
would
watch
rather
it.
just own it for $20.
Both. Do both.
I know. I gotta wait.
Wouldn't you go to the movie theaters and see it? Like if it wasn't COVID?
Yes, but I would
Well,
be
there's
by
your
myself.
There's your
But
ticket.
it's 20. That's $20 rental. That's I can't.
I love.
My
I love.
biggest-
There's like a just a threshold in Josh's mind. He's like, I just
I
can't
would
do it.
buy. I'll buy it for 40 on 4K
Yeah.
because I can watch it 15 times if I
Sure.
love it. If I rent it,
But you
for
realize you could
$20.
rent it for 20 and then just get the Blu-ray for 20, and you still bought it for 40.
But then you got
but
Blu-ray.
Why would I own a Blu-ray? What's wrong with you?
Blu-ray is the new DVD.
And then I couldn't give one of you guys a digital code, and
That's
then I
true.
wouldn't have an extra Blu-ray disc.
Okay, well
on
then
it.
I'll refrain from spoilers, but I will say this: I liked
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
I was shocked when I went to Amazon and I saw the reviews for this movie. They were
Oh,
awful.
Really?
It makes me want to say that there are a lot of racist people. Because almost every one of the real negative reviews on Amazon mentions something about Black Lives Matter, the director hates white people. Like there's a lot of that on Amazon. I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. One, it's a terrible opinion to have. Two, why would you publicly post it?
Yeah.
Don't put it in writing.
Well, and it's like, do you? Because
Yeah.
the original wasn't really any different, right?
So here's the point. Here's the thing that I think was hilarious. And so last year, you guys know how, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but every Halloween, I come up with a list of movies that me and my wife are going to watch. It's kind of like our fun thing to do. My wife is not into horror movies, so on a lot of times, I look at it as a way of like sharing my hobby with her. Like this is the one time a year she dives in with me. So it's almost like educational or awareness for me. Like I'm always trying to give her a little bit of everything, and like almost like a lesson, you know, like in horror movies. I'm like, here's why these are important. Let's cover these bases. Last year we did Candyman. We did Candyman 1 and 2. We didn't do Candyman 3 because my memory of Candyman 3 is not very good. But we did 1 and 2, and I always thought that she would like Candyman. And I used to always tell her, I was like, Tony Todd is a great like slasher. He's a great character, and Candyman stands out from the pack because it's romantic. It's a romantic horror movie, and he's very like suave and seducing, and like she calls him regal, which I think is fair.
That's
You
a
know,
good
like
word. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's very haunting. It's very different, and I've always thought that Candyman would appeal to women. I always thought like that's almost like it almost feels like the writing is like geared towards that. Like that's the target.
Okay.
And she liked it. She liked the movie. She thinks it's too gory. She thinks anything that shows blood is gory, which is funny because I don't think of gore at all when I think Candyman, but she thinks Candyman's too gory. So we watched the new one. I really like the new one. Now I want to say this. 35 minutes in the new one, I was really upset. Like really upset.
Oh.
Because I thought that they were retconning Candyman. I was pissed. I was like, this is outrageous. This is preposterous. This is outlandish. Like I was like losing my mind. Here's the thing. If you guys start watching it and you feel the same way, it comes around. Stick with it. They weave it all together. It's very smartly done. Like very, very nicely done. It will reward you for having known what Candyman is, which I thoroughly appreciated. I was like, this is great. And my wife appreciated, which made it feel even better. Because I was like, see, had I not done this last year and pointed all this out to her, she wouldn't understand it now. So I was just digging, like kind of sitting in the director's chair. It is a movie that has a lot of social commentary on like class warfare and inequalities between race and stuff, which is not, I don't think is any new to anybody. If you've ever seen the trailer, like you knew that's what was coming. But
Well, and I feel like good horror movies have some sort of commentary.
they
in them.
always
That's
have.
Kind of what they're
That's what Dawn of the
based
Dead
on.
did.
Exactly.
It's the Night of the Living Dead did. But the thing is, the people that are upset that it touches on race, I feel like never watched the first one. I was so mad when I started reading these reviews because I was like, I rented it on Amazon, which is why I even saw the star rating to begin with. It's like I don't normally read reviews. I rented it on Amazon, saw it's like 2 stars, like 2 out of 5. And I was like, this is terrible. Like I like this movie. I wouldn't say it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's not like my favorite movie ever, but solid 4 out of 5 horror movie. Like I really liked it. So I was like, why are the reviews so bad? So then I go look at it. And it's all like the director hates white people and all this. And I was like, wow. So not only are you guys showing yourselves to have like some really bad opinions, but you're also showing yourselves to not be fans of the genre. Candyman's always been racial. The
Yes,
first
'cause
Candyman
he's
came around
black.
because he had sex with a white woman and they killed him. Like that's what the whole damn thing is about. It.
Well, and horror should make you uncomfortable. If it's not making you uncomfortable in more ways than just, oh, here's some blood, then it's probably not.
I think horror movies can make you think in a lot of ways. I think they're used to do that quite often. I mean, that's what Halloween was written for those that don't know. Like the reason I went down there was he used to always think that like Haddonfield is very much like suburbia, and he used to think that suburbia was terrifying because it was always done like people were nice to your face, but colluding and shit in secret, and everything is like very nice at face value, but all this stuff is happening behind you that's evil, and that's where like a lot of the Halloween stuff comes from. If you ever dive into the books and stuff as to why that comes from, that's a lot of the inspiration. Anyway, I really like Candyman. It's not as scary as I would like a Candyman movie to be. It's more dramatic. But there are scary movies. There's definitely horror movies. The only thing that I will say, and I said this to a friend of mine the other day, is they do break the law. Somebody says Candyman, and they don't die. I understand why they don't. And the movie even supports it happening. I just got to tell you, as an old-fashioned horror fan, I don't like that. I don't like when movies break the law. Like, you can't break the rules. Like, the rules are the rules, and the rules should always be the rules. And so just the traditionalist in me was like, that was cheap. But outside of that, it was very well acted. It's nicely shot. The story, I said, like the writing is really, the way they weaved all of their lore together, it feels like a Candyman movie, even without Tony Todd being the Candyman, which, hey, how many times have we seen reboots and sequels and stuff that we've hated, especially when they change these actors that we know and love? And I think Candyman nails it. I think it pulls it off. Highly recommend.
Nice.
Josh.
Okay, let's spice it up a little bit.
Oh,
My next
baby.
movie,
People of the world, spice up your life.
for this year, I'm gonna pick actual 2021 year. This is a directorial debut for this person. They have also previously written Blair Witch, the 2016 version, and
Oof.
co-produced. Written, The Guest, and
Ouch.
executive produced. Wrote and produced Your Next.
Nice. No, we're talking.
Has also written and been a writer, producer, and actor in the VHS series of films. That person is Simon Barrett, and his directorial debut is a Shudder exclusive, the movie called Seance.
Oh, you were telling me about this.
Starring Suki Waterhouse, which is someone I fell in love with after watching this film. Don't tell my wife. But she is a patron, so she'll hear this. It is, well, I don't want to spoil this because I'm guessing based off of both of your reactions, you haven't seen it.
Nope.
What I would like to say is it's only 93 minutes long, so it's like the perfect horror film time. It is a very well executed film. Now, there's definitely things they borrow from, as far as, in fact, I talked about a movie that is very similar to this when we did Decade of Horror for 2020. But where this kind of differentiates from like what we've seen before is, for me at least, it took a weird turn where the story of this movie is the plot of Until Dawn, the video game, minus the werewolves, minus the Yetis. So it is a very, and that's a conclusion I came to on my own. Like
Adding it to my list.
You might be able to watch this and not come to that conclusion, but I really feel like I could debate why.
You promised me.
Yeah, I think I could debate why it makes sense. But one of the things I really enjoy about this is it has a lot of what we saw in The Craft the first time The Craft came around.
Nice.
A very unique, different-ish take on like high school society or middle school society in a world where spooky shit happens. So it really fit in there. The ending doesn't really pay off as much as you want it to, but I think it does enough to make the whole journey worth the trip. Something I was not expecting to really enjoy at all is probably going to make it into my top 5 films of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've seen at least 3 movies in the theater since COVID.
I saw one.
So, yeah. Paw Patrol is one of those.
I'll put it on my list as a Shudder fan. I've seen it. I've seen the thumbnail, but there's a bajillion thumbnails on Shudder. It's got to be like someone special that's going to stand out. Yeah. I usually wait for somebody to tell me that it's good, whether it be you guys or a blog or a tweet or something. I wait for somebody to be like, "Hey, this is good," and then I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then I'll go watch it on Shudder.
Seance is like it's up your alley because it's less of the
I love The Craft.
overdrawn story that I'm thinking of, like the House on Haunted Hill, Haunting of Bly Manor and stuff. It's more it leans in on The Craft, but it also leans in on the private school for girls angle, like the Miskatonic vibes. Like I'm not saying it's Cthulhu related, but it definitely has that whole like horror trope where it doesn't feel overplayed. It just makes sense. And yeah, I want to say so many things about this, but you're gonna love the protagonist. This is a person who does everything you wish you could do in the situation they're in.
Nice.
I think they play it really well.
That's why I liked Your Next so much.
Yes. Yeah, and it definitely leans into Your Next as far as that goes.
Oh, that sounds great then. I'm going to watch that. That might have to go into my to-do list sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's a quick, easy watch, so.
I have a thought-out plan for... I always do. I actually have a thought-out plan for this Halloween and next in terms of what I'm watching, so...
Hey, not overly gory if you want to watch with...
Oh, that's
the
a bonus.
wifey. There's definitely gore. You can't see my hands.
Moments
gore.
of.
We need to come up with like a gore spectrum, like a scale of movies.
Yeah,
right?
it's...
like, what is this on the gore spectrum?
Poltergeist.
Oh, that's like a 2.
Halloween.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is Poltergeist even a 2? Like, Poltergeist might be the bottom of the score scale. It has like a 1.
I think Poltergeist, but the first one has
slimy,
some, like,
but it's not
gnarly
gory
stuff with the face peeling off in the mirror.
Yeah,
I think it's like a 2 or 3. I mean, it's a low. Like, we could go 10 easy.
Sure.
I think even Midsummer is a 9, so it's not even that bad. There's worse out there.
I love this idea of we may have to come back to
this. Halloween 2 is an 11.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think like what's the top of the scale, and I'm thinking like Saws and Hostels and things like that. I'm like, I can get to the top of the scale pretty quickly.
Torture porn type stuff.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we don't need to go down that.
Speaking of torture porn, Lucas, what's your...
My turn. I'm gonna keep going from the bottom until I get to the...
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah. I watched a movie called Alone not that long ago. If you're not familiar, it's the one where the woman is basically taking a road trip. Her parents, or at least mom, doesn't seem to know exactly what's going on. I think she's trying to get out of the city, maybe make a life change. I don't remember exactly what. It doesn't really matter because it's not really it just sets up the story basically as to why as to why she's on the road.
I gotcha.
This one had me in the first half, actually. I was very intrigued by the idea of what it would be like. Yeah.
It's so funny. You go, this one had me in the first half, and I type in Alone because I've never heard of this. And the first thing that pops up on the Google, or I use Bing, on the Bing results is a Roger Ebert summary. And it says the first 30 minutes of the Alone is promising. That's the first.
I'm Roger Ebert, you guys.
I was reading it as you were saying, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing."
Wouldn't that be so crazy if Donnie just called you out as a plagiarist in the middle?
Yeah, I was going to say, little did you know, I just copied.
He reworded it.
I know what I'm doing. I've slacked off before.
No.
Let me tell you why, though. So I found it very interesting, and they do a good job of bringing in the paranoia and the uncomfortableness of what it would be like to be in a woman's shoes, traveling by herself, and having these weird circumstances that keep popping up, and you start to get like this creeping feeling like something's not right here. And I think everybody has had that feeling, whether it's justified or not, in person. You know, you're walking, you have to run to the store late at night, and you're walking through the dark parking lot, and you just like pick up your steps a little bit faster, just because you get that weird feeling. You know, that's the kind of thing that I felt while watching this at the beginning. And it's not, obviously, from a perspective that I'm not familiar with, and I've heard my wife talk about it, where she's like, well, you don't think twice about running to the store by yourself, but I have to think about what time I'm going at, and who's with me or who's not with me and stuff. So that side of this whole story was very interesting. What wasn't interesting, however, was all of the rest of it, because
all of it.
The rest of the movie.
I mean, I go into a lot of movies not knowing exactly what's going to happen, because I mean, I want to be told a story, and if I know what's going to happen or know what to expect, and it doesn't play off that, then it's going to be not very fun. And so here you kind of can see where it's going to go. Right. I mean, obviously there wouldn't be much of a movie left if it was just her driving around going, I think random men are coming after me, and then nothing happens. Although that would be interesting too. But she does get captured eventually. You know, her instinct was right.
As they do.
And after that point, there's not really much that you haven't seen in any other movie that's like this. And that's kind of where I started to kind of get lost from the movie. Is just
we
like,
talked about
okay,
this on Decade of Horror. Like, this has kind of become almost like it's not really, I mean, it's definitely like a subgenre of horror lately.
Yeah,
and it feels like the
almost tropey.
2010s have cranked it up a bit. And yeah, after a few years, like, it was probably really novel. The first couple that came out, you're like, yeah, you know, but like after that, like, you start to wonder, it's like, is anyone going to say anything new? Or going to add anything to this?
Yeah, being captured and held prisoner, like, this was an interesting perspective to have, and I think that was an important way to tell the story, but it kind of drops that after a while, and then it just becomes like, I need to escape, just like anybody would want to at that point. I don't think it gets necessarily, this is gonna sound awful, but I don't think it gets its hands dirty enough for this type of movie to make you feel uncomfortable, to make you feel surprised. Like, it's pretty, if I remember correctly, it's fairly tame in that mindset. And so
Paint by numbers.
yeah, and then once she does finally get out of the situation, then it becomes a hunted situation, and she's trying to escape, and
Like
there are a few parts where it gets a little bit interesting, but then it just kind of plays out the way you would expect.
So it's interesting is when you say it's played out, like, there have been a lot of these in the 2010s, 2020s, but it's not even new. We've been doing this since like the 60s and the 70s. Like, this has been a long kind of thing that we've done in horror movies for a while.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe that's part of the problem, is just like I've seen it too much.
I would like to see somebody else do it. I don't know, do it not differently, but like just add something to it. Because I know exactly when you say, you know, it's paint by numbers, it does what it does. Like, we all know exactly what you're saying. We've seen that movie.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody else has got to break out of that.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere else, or it's got to do something else. It's not enough just to capture someone.
And you can't do, like, I don't think gore realism is the way to go, because we've had, you know, like, so many movies that like took that to the nth degree. So like, you got to do it smarter or wittier or twistier or something like that.
Yeah, mental torture, some sort of revenge plot from the other person. Yeah, I don't know, but this one was just like, oh, aren't strange men scary to women sometimes? And it's like, yeah, they are.
And we talk about like A Girl Walks Home Alone is kind of like the cooler way of doing something like that.
Yeah,
like
that's a good
We have
point.
so many of these movies, and this one comes out and flips it, and I think that's why we liked it so much.
Yep.
I still want that damn Blu-ray. That Blu-ray is expensive.
2.5 stars on this one, so just missed the mark.
I wish I rated my movies.
I only did because of Letterboxd.
I'm looking at our time, and we are 1 hour and 11 minutes. And I know we go long, and I expected to go long, but we got to kick it up a notch. So I'm gonna
Sure.
go quicker, and I'm gonna almost do 2 at a time. All right. So
Yeah.
first one, James Wan, Conjuring, Insidious, everything's great, right?
Yeah.
Came out with a movie called *Malignant* that people said was redefining the horror genre. It's
Yes.
awful. It's
no.
terrible. It's terribly bad. It's
That's
so
on my to
bad.
watch.
It's
I would
so
say
bad.
the first 5 minutes definitely redefines the horror genre for
Oh,
sure.
and
because
the
it makes
definition
it
is shit.
Science fiction.
I was-
It's not a. I messaged Johnny privately and I was like, "Hey, I'm like 45 minutes into *Malignant* and I kind of hate it. Should I keep watching?" And he was like, "Dude, don't do it." And then we messaged about the plot twist, but even for me, and like Donnie came out first in our Discord, and he was like, "Oh man, he was very excited, posting a picture, starting *Malignant*, and like he was at the end, he was like, "Oh man." So I was like, "Hey,
Mistake.
I haven't been
I looked
let
at Rotten
down.
Tomato scores, and it made me want to watch it more based on a movie we're about to talk about soon." And then Donnie said, "Well, I really hope you do watch it." And then I was like, "Oh, cool. That's like that motivation I need." And I really started it thinking, "What am I doing? This is so bad right away." So I had to message Johnny to just make sure I
bad.
shouldn't continue watching.
I just want to say that I am tired of seeing the damn artwork for this movie because it's yet another red and black poster, and it's just like that awful photoshopped eyeball about to get pierced.
Yeah.
or
At the
whatever.
night, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so sick of seeing
The
it
marketing for
everywhere.
this one was huge, and I don't think I don't like it because of the marketing, because I like being in on stuff like when it's hyped up and stuff, when it's good, like I'm all about
Sure.
it. So I'm not throwing that under the bus, and I don't think it was expectations.
Yeah.
I didn't come in expecting to see the greatest movie I've ever seen. That was not my expectation. Based on its previous films, I did expect coming in to see what I would call a really good movie, and I don't think this was a good movie at all.
Yeah.
My wife guessed the twist like 20 minutes in. I swear to God, like she knew exactly, and then it came out exactly like that, and I was like, "Wow!"
And it even turns out I wasn't that far away from even myself guessing what the twist
Yeah.
was.
And so it's very
No.
predictable, and that makes it not as, I don't know, rewarding
Enjoyable.
to sit through.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of unexplained things, and you know what? You know what, Justin? We like to spoil stuff on this show, so I'm gonna spoil a little bit.
Ooh.
So
Spoiler
the thing
alert.
is, there is a villain in this movie that turns out to be connected to some other character in the movie that just, like, for whatever reason, like just because it's like a mental thing, can mentally snap into being like a superhero, which is a lot like that. What was that movie from M. Night Shyamalan?
Oh,
Unbreakable?
Unbreakable, that type of thing.
Yeah, but like no, it's
Blast.
Split?
Split, right?
Yeah,
Split,
Split.
which is also one like that. I was like, that one was very loose in that regard. It's like, okay, I'm totally fine with you becoming mentally a different person, but how the hell do you mentally change? Your
The beast.
ribs explode and shit like this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This movie does that further. So like on that premise alone, I'm already like, I'm very skeptical when movies go down that path. I'm like, just make the monster then. Like, just let the monster be the monster. Don't do this unexplainable event
Yeah.
to be the monster, because that feels cheap. Dude, it's just not very good. The acting's not very good. The writing's not very good. Like, I was so excited. Like I said, James Wan, right? Saw, The Conjuring,
Yeah.
Insidious.
Yeah.
These are some of the greatest horror movies of the last 25 years. Like, he's doing a new movie, Rolling Stone's talking about how great it is. All these great box quotes, like Malignant. I was like, fuck yes, I'm so into it. And it was terrible. I was so let down. I'm so glad I didn't. I would have been furious if I paid a ticket to see it in theater. I'm so happy I just got to watch it HBO Max. If I had paid $17.50 to watch, I would have been so mad.
Oh,
I would have
yeah.
been write somebody a letter mad.
I was thinking this might be the
Right, someone
first
like that.
movie I've seen like where I'm like, this movie would have benefited from theaters being open, because I watched 45 minutes and I stopped. But if I bought a ticket for
You would have
$16,
suffered through it.
I would have watched the whole movie. And I might like it more. So this is like the first movie that I can think of that is like crippled by the theater still being closed or this crazy deal that
Huge miss.
they make.
I hope. Hey,
with-
look again. All of my opinions. I told Josh. I hope he watches it because again, I don't like Fear Street. I don't think my opinion is
Yeah,
golden.
I'll
You know,
finish
like
it.
I want to let other people watch it, but this is another one. In my opinion, I would tell you it's bad for a lot of reasons. I could give you 25 minutes on why I thought this movie was bad.
Yeah.
It's just not very good. So to spin that a different way, let's talk about The Dark and the Wicked,
Yeah.
which is
Check
fucking
that off.
awesome, shelf worthy. The Dark
For
and the
sure.
Wicked is on Shudder. I think this movie came out in 2019 or 2020, and we missed it when we were recording.
2020, yeah.
Yeah.
2020.
I watched it when it hit Shudder. I'd never heard of it before. It hits Shudder. I see it on my Twitter. People are like, The Dark and the Wicked's great. I watch it, and then what do I do for the next 3 weeks? I show up to Discord every day, tagging you guys at HorrorFam.
Which is why I
somebody
watched it.
else, please watch
Please
The
watch
Dark and the Wicked
Yeah.
because
Still
it's
haven't.
fucking awesome. The moment I finished watching it, I bought the Blu-ray. I was like, this is gotta go on the shelf. This is so good. It's so good, Lucas. It's okay. So first, I don't know the director's name, but I do remember this about it. He did The Blackcoat's Daughter and I believe The Strangers.
Brian Bertino.
Oh, okay.
Which you know me, I love The Strangers. So like,
Yeah.
this is very much following down this path. I apparently like whatever this dude does. This is a haunting movie, a demonic haunting movie of a family on a farm. It's very. I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but I want to just shout a few things. It's very lonely and solo. There's a lot of still shots with like one or two people on screen. And I think that adds a lot to its eeriness because it's fucking creepy. It just does that conjuring creepy stuff like creaks and noises, and you see glimpses and shadows and shit behind stuff that
Ooh,
doesn't look
I
like
like
it
that.
should be.
Yes.
And it's scary. This movie scared the shit out of my wife. Like she didn't want to go to bed after we watched it. So I wrote down a few notes of movies that I want to talk about tonight. And here's the note that I wrote down about The Dark and the Wicked. One of the scariest movies I've seen in some time. If you love horror movies and you feel like you haven't been scared, this is the movie for you because it is scary. It's scary. It's
You're
not
selling-
gory. It's not over the top. It's not eyeballs. It's scary, classic, scary fashion.
You're selling me
It's-
on another Shutter subscription month. Damn it.
I like Host, The Dark and the Wicked. It's so funny because when I watched it, I was like, this is the best horror movie I've seen in some time. And I think when I watched it in our Discord, I was like, horror movie of the year. In my
It was
opinion, based on
early
all
in
the
the
other
year.
stuff I've seen, like this is the horror movie of the year for me. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely love the movie. The movie's great.
Okay.
It's very good.
Yeah,
watch it now.
it is very good. I would say it plays on the disassociation of population. Does that make me sound smarter than I want to sound? It's a brother and sister who have to take care of mother. It's relatable to people because what this movie proposes is like something we all inevitably will have to deal with, which
Sure.
makes it scarier. It's
Mhm.
like,
And the thing
You
about
ever-
it, it's not novel. It's not new.
oh,
We've
it's-
seen
yeah,
a lot of movies just like this. It just does it really well, which I
That's-
really appreciate.
Yeah, the tone, it's like a Clint Eastwood film. It's like the start of a Clint Eastwood film. Very like brown and gray and desolate, but you
Quiet.
have this very quiet, with some exceptions. But you have this brother and sister who you can tell have been like separated for so long, and now they're forced into the situation of taking care of their mother, who is very clearly ill. They just don't know what's going on. And then it actually, without, I don't want to spoil it, but there's, watching this, I had so many Colorado Space like feelings.
Ooh, I didn't think that at all. That's
where
Colorado
it's like-
Space.
Colorado
like-
Space.
It was just taking that
Denver Knights.
like feeling and putting it into the past, but like the mother and some of the kitchen stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
that's definitely memorable.
It really reminded me of that in a good way. This really falls in line with one of the movies I think I might have covered. I must have talked about The Pale Door when we did 2020, right?
I don't remember.
I think I
don't
did.
remember either.
But it really falls into that timeline of you can let so many things go because you're setting this expectation of what time this happens in society and like civilization. So you can let a lot of technology go. You don't have to be burdened with thinking to yourself like they couldn't have done AOL. That wasn't even a thing then. Like you're not really worried about continuity in that manner. So maybe something like slip, like a piano that shouldn't be played at that timeline.
My
But I
ultimate
think,
recommendation, like my ultimate box art quote, like if I was doing a review or whatever, Lucas, I would say it's good old fashioned like classic horror, just done well.
yeah,
It's just done well.
I'm finding I like that more and more.
You'll just
And
see
I
shit
would
through the blinds
say-
and stuff. Like it's sleight of it's sleight of hand, it's trickery, it's shadows. It's just good old fashioned shit.
my tagline would be, "It's all in the family."
Oh,
It's good.
when you're here, your family.
No.
So that's
Very
Oh.
specifically.
that's a couple off my
all in the
list.
family.
I've got a couple more, but we can do them somewhat quickly. I'd like to at least get this part of the show done, segment done by
Yeah.
20 more minutes. So if you've got
Yeah,
if
I
you've
can
got
be quick.
7 or 10 more, let's group them up and let's get them moving.
Yeah.
Cool.
Josh.
I'll knock some out right now. We already talked about, if we didn't, The Pale Door. Check it out. It's on Shutter also. The Dark and the Wicked.
Put it on my list.
Donnie just covered. I'm going to skip over Fear Street because we talked about that. Those are 2 on my list. Conjuring we already covered. I'm going to skip
Did we?
over Army of the Dead. I think we can just
That one's on my
kinda
list.
I'll agree.
We can
chuck
talk
that
about it.
off on a Snyder film. Like it was good.
I liked it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was good. It's interesting. It's an interesting development in the lore of zombies, like traditionally accepted zombies. So I'm interested to see a sequel. All right, so my quote that I wrote for that one, fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. I don't
I
necessarily
agree.
think it was a good movie. It was a fun movie.
I had a lot of fun watching it. It was.
I feel like it got a lot of
enjoyable.
hate.
It did get a lot of hate because people don't like.
That's the internet. It was fun.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't overwhelmingly good, but it was fun.
You agree, Lucas? You watched it?
I haven't, but it is on my
Okay.
list.
Okay, cool. Well,
I
keep
think
it on
you
your
told me
list.
to check
Yeah.
it out, and of course
Keep it
I
on the
went,
list.
yeah, I will, and then didn't.
I love zombie movies. This is not my favorite zombie movie, but it's good.
All right,
Cool.
so we knocked out a bunch of my movies. Let's jump right into Freaky.
Ooh.
Ooh, I have this on my list as well.
Freaky is a movie with Vince Vaughn and this blonde chick.
This blush.
Nice.
I forget her
Typical
name.
man doesn't know the woman's
I know.
name.
Shame on me.
She's in a bunch of stuff, especially horror
She-
stuff.
Yeah, I started looking her up. She does a bunch of stuff. Yeah. I just forgot.
Catherine Newton,
Catherine Newton. I would say
Paranormal Activity.
She is. Oh, there you go. She is definitely the glue to this film, even though you would think like Vince Vaughn would carry it, which I think he does in some regards.
I think it's equal. I think you
Yeah.
can't have one without the other,
yeah.
honestly.
So it's Freaky Friday or Big or Double Trouble or whatever the heck these movies were called, vice
Sure.
versa.
right.
All the '80s movies.
Body swapping.
where-
It takes
But we
two.
haven't seen this, I would say, since the Lindsay Lohan Freaky Friday. So that's like 20 years. We haven't seen.
Has
a
that been
take
20 years since the Lindsay Lohan movie came out?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry to
God.
make you feel old.
God damn it, Josh.
But I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure I'm close.
Let's find out.
So I don't think we've seen this in a long time. And what I do
2003.
appreciate about it is so funny.
Oh, yeah.
It is, yeah.
It like prances over all these horror tropes, but
hmm
really where it comes into, for me,
But with care.
with care. It
With
is-
care.
It's very well done.
It's not
But for
mocking
me,
them.
The moment when the football player and Vince Vaughn are in the back seat,
In the car, yes.
and,
I was gonna say that's the part I
they-
laugh the most.
and I'm like, Vince Vaughn has to kiss a 15-year-old boy in this scene, and the 15-year-old is asking him if he can kiss him, like he's getting consent from the older person, and they do it, and it's awkward, but they both immediately acknowledge how awkward it is
But
as soon as it
it-
happens.
It wouldn't
I-
work. It wouldn't
it was
work
so
though
good.
if they hadn't like set up either character. Well, at least her character
You're right.
as well.
You're right.
Yes.
And I mean, it's an archetype, so you're familiar with it already. But it's given enough like oomph that it doesn't just feel like all right.
developed.
This is just the Yeah, exactly. It doesn't just feel like, oh, it's the person who doesn't who's kind of like nerdy but kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, there's more to it than just their interest or what they do or how they dress or whatever. And that's important because that's how Vince Vaughn has to be. And you know, like when he's doing it, it sounds like her. It seems like that character. And
Yeah.
He's so good. He's
He does a great
impressive.
job with the movie. It's funny because I said developed in my lasting memory because I haven't watched this movie since last year. I remember I got it the day it came out, and I watched it immediately. It's an hour and 45 minutes, and I
Yeah.
remember thinking like it's a lengthy movie and it has time to develop, and I think it benefits from that. Vince Vaughn does a great job of pulling off the part, not just in like the comedic part you mentioned is. I would expect him to be able to do that.
sure.
It's the horrific, haunting, brooding part that like you would. I'm like, I don't know about. I remember when the trailers came out, I was like, I don't know. Vince Vaughn, he does a very good job. It comes
He's
off
a
very
big
believable.
dude, or
He
at
is
least he
big.
looks big,
No.
yeah.
He is a big dude. He's a huge dude.
Yeah. I was very surprised. I'm like, oh God.
hmm
He'll throw you around.
Hang on, let's see here. He's 6'6",
Dang.
there you go.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
and he's like at least like a good like 250, like strong.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's a thin 6'6".
It looks believable for sure.
Yeah.
when he's
Yeah.
attacking them.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do have a couple lasting memories. I remember the beginning of the movie, they're in the manor, and they take a couple sidesteps that caught me off guard, like expecting it like, okay, here's where this happens, and it didn't happen. Or like, here's where, and I don't remember exactly what the twists were, but I remember that they were like, again, they dance on these tropes that you come to expect, and then just kind of slightly step out of the way and give you something you've never seen before. The other thing that I remember most about this movie is that there's like two endings. You have like the ending and then you have like the epilogue ending. And I remember like, I don't know if the epilogue ending needed to be there. That's I think my lasting memory for the movie is like, man, they really could have, they had a nice clean break and they came back for like this little extra bit.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. But it's very good. I like it. Shelf worthy. Put it on the shelf.
I gave it a 3.5, so
good.
above average for me.
There you go.
Any more, Josh?
Okay. Well, okay. So we knocked. Well, why don't we can cover this one right now before we throw to Lucas for another one. We can talk about a classic horror story
Ooh.
because that is on my list. I told Lucas prepare for spoilers, but
That is completely fine.
if we don't want to spoil it because
We just did 2 hours on it.
it came out on my birthday, July 15th. It came out so many months ago. But this is a movie Donnie joined myself and Kyle on Dollar Cinema for PSVG Patreon, which if you're listening to this, you can also listen to that.
Yeah.
And I think for Donnie and I, this was a very surprising win for something we fully expected to be horrible.
Easily one of the best horror movies I've seen on Netflix.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're like, oh, look at this duck showed up for the goose fight.
Well, I
I
mean,
like
it's just
him.
one of those things like when, and I think Fear Street's a part of that. Like when Netflix is like, hey, we've got a horror movie. It's like, okay, Netflix.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
you do.
That's
You know, like there are only a handful that I even think are even memorable. And trust me, I've watched dozens. But like every time I think of Netflix and horror, I think of like The Ritual. Like they've had a couple,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, but they're not the place that I think of to go to for horror.
So my question to you, I asked it in our Discord chat, and because Lucas said he started watching it, and he was like, "But I almost couldn't finish it because the dubbing was so bad." And then I
Yeah,
had,
the
like,
first
I had
couple of
like
minutes, I'm like,
It is.
Groundhog
It's very
Day-
bad.
I had like a Groundhog Day flashback to when we recorded Dollar Cinema. Did
I
you
brought that up.
Did you only watch this movie dubbed?
hmm
Oh
Okay.
God.
So I don't think Kyle or I picked that up because you were saying like, I would really like to hear what that guy sounds like.
Yeah.
And it's
I brought it up on the show.
He says
They
it's
kind of
in
walk right
Italian.
past it. They're like, yeah, Donnie, that's good. And then they just get into the movie. So we didn't really
We didn't
talk about
wanna,
it. But
like insult you.
it was
Okay,
one of those
so,
things when I was watching, I was like, this is one of the worst dubs I've ever seen.
They
ever.
redubbed an Englishman
Like,
with an
it's-
American
Because
accent.
Kyle and I
who's
both watched
speaking
it in
English in
Italian.
both.
It's so bad. It's really bad.
So it makes way more sense because I watched it in Italian from get go. And when Donnie made a comment about he was curious about what the guy, and Donnie doubled down on it because he mentioned it again, like 30 more minutes in, and I was like, wait a second, what is happening? But I was like, I read this movie. I didn't experience this movie. I read this movie.
I expected it to play in its native language. And
I didn't even know it
when
was an
didn't-
Italian film, Lucas. I watched it,
was-
didn't even know it was an Italian film.
It looked almost like it was right, but then after a while, I started looking at it. I'm like, okay, this cannot be right. It
Yeah.
sounds wrong.
It's real
It
bad.
just
I had the opposite experience.
But here's the thing, Lucas. If you get past it, it's very good.
well, I switched it, and I was like, oh, thank God, because
I just suffered through it.
I couldn't listen to it anymore.
Oh,
It did get to the
God.
point where I think I focused less. I just kind of focused on.
You got used to it.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, I don't want to spoil it, but I got to the point where the guy who is injured the most,
Mark.
the redhead,
Mark.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah. Mark. What
he
a
got
name.
captured and dealt with.
He's not American. He's from Spain, but he's
That's only
speaks with
as
an
far as
American
you got?
accent.
Oh, Lucas, there's so much good movie left. That's when the movie like gets started.
It picks
I was
up
gonna
right
say
there.
because I was not impressed at
Yeah, keep watching.
at that point.
It
I'm
picks
with
up.
you. It wasn't
Okay.
it wasn't that impressive to that point.
Okay.
It gets better.
Okay, if you tell me that, then I'll believe
It does. Stay
I'll
with
watch
us.
it.
This movie gets better, like going from 0 to 60.
It does.
It's
Gotcha.
literally that.
Finishes strong.
Yeah, it does go 0 to 60, and right now you're at 25. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Well, yeah, I was gonna
It's
say
coming.
it feels like it's just doing what I've seen in other movies, which
Yeah.
obviously is a running theme.
No. They want you to
hopefully
think
It
that.
changes.
Gotcha.
They
Yes,
want
I
you to
was
think
gonna
that. They're doing
Play
that
off
on
that.
purpose.
Poor
Heavily on
Kyle.
purpose.
I feel so bad for Kyle.
Kyle
but
didn't like
yeah.
it as much, but I don't know how many horror movies Kyle watched. Trust
He
me,
doesn't- he
there's a
hates horror
lot of
movies.
movies that try to play with horror tropes and do it awful. That's not one of them. That one does
No,
it well.
it's so
Alright.
good.
Yeah, it does it well.
Cool.
Cool.
It's not like on my list. I'm looking at it here. Classic Horror Story probably be like 4 or 5 for me. 3 if I had to rank
Okay.
them maybe.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more that like Dark and the Wicked's 1. There's a couple here that are like kind of the same place. I don't want to overtake your turn,
Okay.
Lucas. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's okay. Actually, I could probably be done if you will indulge me really quick. I only
Of
have
course.
4 more, and they both have the same score, so I can kind of group them together by that.
Okay.
So, the 2 that were the lower scored were both 3 stars, and that was Becky, which I gave
Yes.
3 stars.
Which I remember we recorded. I talked about that when we recorded. I
Yes,
like
yes.
Becky.
It was pretty good. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's pulled mostly by the performance of Lulu Wilson, who does the teenage daughter. It
She's
does
in Annabelle.
Oh,
Annabelle
she is?
Creation. Yeah.
Okay, I liked her. So,
Yeah.
and I think this is the first time I've seen her. At least, I don't know if it is, but I'm pretty sure it is. I think they could have upped maybe the or like the family drama a little bit more, but there was enough there that it gave me like, I think maybe it's just because I don't like what's his name as a dad. I can't remember what his name is.
Kevin something.
No, not Kevin James. The dad, her dad in
Oh,
as a
okay.
teenager.
I gotcha.
Gosh, I can't remember what
I
his
don't
name
remember
is.
his name
He's
either.
a comedian.
Yeah.
It's probably Chris or something.
Mark.
Yeah, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, I was surprised. Like I guess I was expecting less out of it. I don't know, maybe because Kevin James is in it, but he does a decent job.
That's another one
This-
that's like surprising. I remember when they casted him and everyone's like, that's not going to be good. And it's like, that's better than you think.
Yeah, he does a decent job, and I think the kills and everything were done well and entertaining enough. I think that kind of that touch, it's just a touch of that weird, like, you don't know why they're there, and it seems kind of fantastical almost. The reason that they come to this lake house to find this thing, you never find out what it is.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives you this like thread to like investigate more. And I don't really mind that you never really find out what it is, honestly. So it surprised me. I thought it was good.
Killing
It
a
was a bit
sacred deer
different.
all over again.
Yeah,
Damn that movie.
Exactly.
How did he do it?
The other movie that got 3 stars was The Wretched.
Yeah.
which is the film where this kid, it reminded me a lot of Disturbia, which is mixed in with this weird like possession / witch demon thing. It was interesting enough to keep watching. I think it had enough heart and soul behind it, I guess, to keep me entertained. It wasn't just by the numbers. I guess it was by the numbers, but it was enough. It was done well enough that it didn't bug me, if that makes any sense. The performances were good enough. The dynamics between the family was good enough, and just kind of like knowing what the monster was in this one didn't bug me as much as it does in other films, because I don't think they set it up to make the monster, quote unquote, the mystery. I think it was what was going to happen and how everything was going to play out was more of the mystery.
This was good.
And that's why I was like, this is better than I thought it was, because I was just expecting.
I always think of that. I think in the same terms when it comes to zombie movies, because I love zombie movies. When I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, zombies are so played out." It's like when they're bad.
Yeah.
But like, you can give me like Night of the Living Dead again, the same movie. Like if it's good, I'll still watch it. Like if it's good acting, everything. Like
it can be the backdrop to a story. Like you're not there you're there. You show up for the zombies, and then you keep watching because of everything else that happens in the movie. And that's kind of how I felt about this. So those were the 2 3-star movies, and then my 2 4-star movies. One was another one we talked about, and one kind of skims horror movie at all. So we'll leave it up to you guys if you're even familiar with the movie. So the quick one I can go over is Love and Monsters. I watched it because I was talking about on Decade of Horror. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I don't think it's a horror movie.
Than I thought.
No, it's not a horror movie.
It isn't. It's like a monster film, but
yeah.
And even that, it's just kind of. But
not
overall, it's more science fiction, I guess, almost, because of what happened and how it plays out. But I still liked it. I don't know. Movie. I thought it was enough to kind of be in that same vein, at least in my mindset. And then again, another movie that probably, if you guys are familiar with it, you'll say not horror movie, is Promising Young Woman.
Oh,
have you
okay.
watched this?
I put it on my.
Classify that.
I wanted to watch it last year. It's been on my watch list for a while. It just hit HBO. Amazon or Hulu. It's one of my
HBO.
I just added it to one of my queues. I don't know. I didn't remember which app, but like today I added. I was like, "Oh, it's finally out," and I'm ready to watch it.
Yesterday, yeah.
It's I think I got it from the library, and that's why I was able to watch it before streaming.
Man, your library. It's like
they have the best damn library like the world's ever heard
library.
of. It's the library. So
the next horror film. The library.
The library. 3 kids get lost.
You can rent Diablo 3.
3 kids in 1988 walk into a library, and they don't come out.
Card catalogs. So the basis of the movie, if you're not familiar with it, because I had a feeling maybe people might not be, is that a woman preys on skeezy men who are looking for an easy lay, drunk women.
Good time.
Yeah, maybe not for the woman. It really nails that feeling of like just some creepy dudes trying to hit on someone, like, "Oh, do you want me to take you home? Oh, you can, you know what, my place is right here, you can come up, get a cup of coffee." And it's just like,
why are they gonna be creepy?
Why are you gonna do coffee at midnight? What's going on with these guys?
It's the
you want some ice cream?
Okay. I think what it is it's the way that they try to hide what they're doing as opposed to being straightforward about it.
You want to come up and fuck?
Sure.
Yeah, that wouldn't be as bad, because then you can say no.
You're like, okay.
See, as somebody who's delivered some lines, I feel like it would be as bad. I don't feel like it would be nearly as successful.
I guess you got to know your audience in that one, right? You can't just be like. Depends on who you're talking to, I guess. Either way, regardless
Maybe
of how
it's
you feel
cold
about
outside.
I can't let you go home alone.
I really can't stay, but baby, it's cold outside.
So I don't want to ruin too much of this, so I won't get into the specifics. But basically, she has a reason as to why she's doing this.
Correct.
And this all like this
I'm aware
is
of the
a good,
reason. Yeah.
Okay, this is all a really smart setup. I liked it. The way she does it is chilling because it seems realistic. Like I could see this being a headline in Florida or something like that.
Sure.
Um,
I mean, anything can be a headline in Florida.
yeah, that's all. That's not saying much, right?
It requires no suspension of belief.
But how it plays out, again, like the way that this turns out is actually quite interesting. It goes in directions that you expect, but then they take a turn and you're just like, oh no. And you feel for her because she is kind of a wounded character. She's not trusting. She is very much set in this unhealthy pastime. And it eats up a lot of her life, and it has eaten up a lot of her life, and you learn about that throughout the movie. And I think that investment in character, when it's such a character-driven story idea, is what's important to this film and why it succeeds. Because if you don't care about why this person is doing this and how it's affecting them, then this doesn't land, I think. But because of that investment, I think what ends up going down has more meaning and makes you feel, again, like this is something that could actually happen, and this is probably the way that it would go down. And I think that's the true horror of it, really, and why I say it's a horror movie is
my questions are: is it good though? I haven't watched it yet because I was wondering if it was good or not. I've seen nice things said about it, but it's been kind of middling, so I've been wondering like.
I think it's above average.
Okay.
I think it's good.
That's
I
good
don't
enough
think
for
it's
me.
great. I don't think
It's
it's
good enough
great.
for me.
But is it
It's
a
better
horror
than that
movie?
Door movie we watched that you liked so much?
Door-
God, I hated that movie.
The
The
Void?
Void?
No. Remember we watched that movie that I was really excited about that I ended up hating that you liked? It's like that old woman
Relic?
in the house movie.
The Relic?
Was it Relic? Where there was
The Relic. Yeah.
Yeah,
where
like
the-
she didn't leave the
inside
door and like the
house.
house and they had the evil closet. And I was
Yes.
like, God, this
Yeah.
movie sucks.
No, it's not like that. I think
But is it better than that? No, I don't know if it's like that. I know it's not like that. Is it
It's
better than that?
It's better because
That's my bar.
I think the only way that you'd go undisappointed is if you're looking for like a classic horror movie, and
Yeah,
this
this
is
is-
more something that's on the fringe.
Is it
like
more
American
horror
Psycho or
genre
something
than
like
like,
that.
because in a lot of ways the premise is very like monster, like with Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Like, does it? I'm trying to think of it. Is it more? It's obviously less dramatic than that. It's not necessarily like a life telling of this actual person that lived, but like on the horror side of that, I know she has motivation, but like, is there some sort of conclusion, or is it scary? Like, do you feel scared at any time?
No, it's not really scary. It's not horror. It's horrible. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay.
Not in the sense
See,
that
like-
it's bad, but in
so
the
like
sense that what
Revenge
happens is horrible.
Is a horror movie that's
It's
similar,
not good, it's horrible.
but like Revenge is actually like horror. You know, like she's hunting
there's
these
no-
guys and killing them.
Right. It's not gory. It's not. It's
Okay.
the idea that becomes.
So I will probably watch it not during Halloween. I'll probably watch it at some point after
Yeah,
Halloween.
yeah. I wouldn't say it's a must watch for Halloween
Okay.
at all.
Okay. Josh, do you have any more?
We covered everything. Were we circling back to Army of Dead? If not, I only have one more.
Okay, I have a couple blockbusters that I'm
Okay.
actually surprised you guys didn't bring up. I have a couple. But I also have a few that we didn't mention at all, so I'll try to get them out of the way fast. Psycho Gorman is on Shudder. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
I want to
liked
watch that. It's on my to do.
Sun, I think, is on Shudder, and it's not very good. We Summon the Darkness, I wanted to watch.
Oh yeah.
And I did watch, and it's not very
Alexandra Daddario.
good. Of course. Like,
Is
you want to
that
watch
the
it because of
one-
her. She's gorgeous, and
Yeah.
it's not very good.
Set in the 80s or something.
No, it's set like sometime previously, but I don't know. It's like an 80s inspired movie. Like she's in like a band and they go on a road trip and then like they capture some guys, but then it flips and Johnny Knoxville's in it and he's a priest
Oh,
and it's
no.
just, it's not very
I have
good.
not seen it. Okay,
It's not very
I was
good.
thinking something else.
Girl on the Third Floor. Did I talk about that one on Decade Horror?
It sounds familiar, but
It's got CM Punk in it, like
yes,
the wrestler.
You did talk about
Yeah,
that.
I think you did talk
It's
about
not
it.
awful, but it's not good. One from last year that I honestly forgot about until I kind of was thinking about prepping for the show. Did you guys watch Saint Maud?
Oh man, it's on Hulu
I
now.
meant to. Yeah.
It's on my
So,
list to watch.
When we were doing Decade of Horror, that was one of the movies that got delayed out of 2020.
Yeah,
that
I
I
was
was
gonna
like
say, it hadn't
dying
come
to
out yet.
watch.
Yeah.
I watched it. It's something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's something great, but it's something. It's
Oh no.
all right. So the premise of the movie is there's a girl who's very, and there's a word for it that I just can't remember. It's like masochistic for Jesus. Like she hurts herself in,
Yes.
like we've seen this like
okay.
with the Da Vinci Code and stuff. There's a word for it in Catholics. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm not going to look it up, but she does a lot of that. And then it like kind of crescendos in like, it's something. It's scary for sure. It's not awful, but it's it's definitely out there. I liked it. I want to be clear. I liked it. Okay.
On my list.
There are a few blockbusters that we didn't talk about that I want to talk about. One of them I think Josh was going to mention, but the movie I watched today that just recently hit rental is Don't Breathe 2. It's from Fede Alvarez, who did the Evil Dead remake. He's in charge of the upcoming Texas Chainsaw reboot, and he did Don't Breathe, which I love. Don't Breathe is great. It's a great horror movie. Don't Breathe 2 isn't nearly as good as Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe 2 is like a poor man's Logan, horror trope-filled thing. It's okay. It's not very good. It's okay. I think I told my wife, if I was writing a review, if I was like IGN, I'd call it mediocre. Don't Breathe 2 is mediocre. Don't Breathe 1 is like great. Don't Breathe 2 is kind of mediocre. It kind of lines up with that classic trope with horror movies that sequels aren't very good. This one's not very good. And it's a shame. Josh, I was really excited to watch Don't Breathe 2. I loved the first one. It was really good.
I was really excited just to see that they would do a sequel for Don't Breathe, which I didn't see, and it really bummed me out because I really like that actor.
Watch the first
one. I kind of fell in love with him in Avatar.
Steven?
Yeah.
Like the main guy? Yeah.
Yeah. So I really wanted to see it, and I never saw Don't Breathe, but I heard so many good things because it's like this unique take on
it is. So the thing that's really cool about Don't Breathe is that he's the victim, but he's also evil. He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So it plays with that. The thing that hurts Don't Breathe 2 is that they try to cast him as a good guy. Like he's trying to atone for his mistakes. But he's a really evil person. Like if you've watched the first one, like he's really bad. It's like, nah, son, I'm not going with this. Like this is not good. Like I'm not just gonna think you're good. Because the stuff that he does, Josh, in Don't Breathe is vile. Like you won't watch Don't Breathe. Trust me. Just watch Don't Breathe. You'll understand what I'm trying to say. Because like especially you're gonna be like, it's not very good. So Don't Breathe 2, it's like Logan. It's that Last of Us thing. He inherits a little girl and it does that sad dad thing. And and honestly, I feel like that's become like its own trope. Right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And
Logan.
It does that and it's not very good at it. So I'm not saying don't watch it. It's mediocre. Okay. I got two movies left. In this first episode because I think we're gonna cut an outro here and then we'll record this part 2.
Yeah.
So part 1 of the sequel, The Forever Purge,
Okay. It
yes.
just came out on Blu-ray.
is the movie that I went to watch in theaters. I've watched one movie in theaters in the last 3 years, and it was The Forever Purge.
And how do you
Because at
feel
the
about
time that it released, COVID was going down. I'd been vaccinated. I was like, this is good. And then like immediately after, COVID went way back up, and I was like, we're never going to theaters again.
that? I almost went and saw this in theaters, honestly.
It really should be called The Purge Ever After. And I really think the trailer does this movie a shit ton of disservice.
No.
The trailer sucks compared to how good the movie is. This is my favorite Purge movie. I say that confidently.
Wow.
I love the Purge premise. Love it. We talked about Decade of Horror. It's one of my favorite premises. I wish I could buy the IP. Like, they're doing so much wrong with the Purge. The Purge should be like Halloween. It should be like Child's Play. Like, it should be revered. It's such a great idea that should live on forever. It's so much better than Saw. Like the premise of The Purge is so much better than Saw. Like, this is a horror movie that writes itself, that they just fuck up constantly. The Forever Purge goes off the rails towards the end. Shocker. Most horror movies do. I'm not going to kill it for that. The thing that I love most about the Forever Purge is that it finally gives the scale, like the global conflict that the Purge, like the idea of the Purge should have. Like when you say the Purge, the premise, we're going to suspend all laws for 24 hours and let folks go fucking nuts. And in hopes that for the rest of the year, things are much better. Like, that sounds terrifying. It's a horrific idea, but there's actual, like, there's maybe reason to believe that would work. You know, like, there's like some belief there. You're like, would that work? Like, would that be doable? This movie is the first movie in the franchise that gives like what that looks like on a global scale, which is what I always go to as Dawn of the Dead. Like seeing the city in ruins, seeing things happening outside of the house, outside of the neighborhood, like get outside of this one character's perspective and see what's going on. Finally, in what appears to be the last one in the franchise, they said this is the last one. The Blumhouse guy was like, we're going to try to get him to do one more, but they swear this is the last one. Finally, this brings this here. Now, I hate the fact that it's got, I don't hate the fact, that's not the right word. The global aspect is brought to you through the eyes of like immigration, and it's a social commentary on like illegal immigration and race and stuff like that, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. I don't like that we had to get to that level before we could zoom out. Because I've always thought like The Purge from a zoom out level is way more exciting and interesting than The Purge from a zoom in level. Like the first Purge, right, was all about this person in his one house. It's like, right. I get that that's what he's dealing with. That's great. Show me what the fuck's happening citywide.
It's almost like a zombie movie in reverse.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't want a zombie movie where it only takes place in one house under attack. You want to see what's happening everywhere.
This movie gives you citywide warfare. Tanks fucking going down the road. Like I was like, finally, yes. Like civil discourse, destruction. This does that, which I really, really liked. The Forever Purge and the cowboy shit and everything that they do, there's a reason why it's there. It's not the crux of the movie, which is why I think the trailer does a disservice. If you're watching that awful trailer, he's like, this is the Forever Purge. He's got his cowboy hat on. Yeah. That looks awful, and like nobody wants to watch that. That's not the movie. That's not the movie.
That's like the poster, though. That's what they want you to think.
Exactly,
sure.
But that's not the movie. There's more to it than this. And it's not my favorite movie. It is my favorite Purge movie. It's not my favorite movie, but I really liked it because of that scale and conflict. And you feel the weight of this Purge, like the event, the Purge. You feel the weight of it, which I feel like we could make 10 movies of that would all be best selling, right? Like you don't have to do like they're exploiting black people in the ghetto like they did with the first Purge. You don't have to constantly do that to make the Purge captivating. Like if we could get the people that made Friday the 13th in the 80s, the IP for the Purge, we'd be set up for 15 years of successful Purge movies. Yeah. It's like, you know what we want? Lots of deaths, lots of explosions, the Purge, right? So I really liked it. I really liked it. I look forward to buying it. And then the last one that had on my list, big blockbuster, Quiet Place 2.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Both of you?
Yeah, it's on my team.
Wow.
I know I can watch it for free.
It's on Paramount.
I know. It's on Peacock, actually. Even cheaper. No, Paramount, you're right. Paramount.
I signed up for a free trial to watch it.
I keep wanting to watch it, but every time I sit down in my living room, I feel like it's not the place to watch it. Does that make sense?
Well, because like just watching it in the theater, the first one
that
was
big experience.
Yeah,
it was that weird. It was like that.
But there's that moment.
See, I hear you.
That moment where the girl, like the daughter. Sorry for spoilers for a 4-year-old movie.
Damn it, Josh.
There's a part in that movie where like
We've only spoiled every movie ever.
To expect his daughter to die, and when you experience that with a theater, like that was like a genuine.
You mean like his son?
His son. Son. With the rocket, with the spaceship.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like there's a point in the theater, like you saw the trailers, but the trailer always cut off before that because they're not gonna kill a kid. Like it's
one of the unspoken rules of
you don't kill kids, especially
That's
in
not
successful horror movies.
Not anymore, but it used to be.
That is not true at all.
So I don't want to deter from your pick, but I don't have a good excuse as to why I didn't see it.
I'm fine with you saying like you want the big. I mean, you're not going to get it now. It's out of the theaters, right?
No, but it got caught up in COVID, right? Like, and that was like an actual movie you could use COVID as an excuse because they were supposed to come out the month after COVID shutdowns. Yeah. And they appropriately delayed it. And I really want to see it. I trust that we were given a movie that Krasinski wrote and directed for the first one.
It's very good.
It was like a runaway hit.
Yep.
I give him just as much credit as I do Jordan Peele. Like, I give them the same credit. They set out.
They
to
both did
do-
innovative projects for sure.
Yeah, so like they both deserve me. I don't even care what Krasinski. He could have done like Rent part 2, and I would have watched it because I like that's where I.
Did you watch his
sit.
Amazon Soldier thing? Because I didn't.
I didn't watch
Jack
Ryan.
Jack
That's
Ryan.
bad.
I didn't watch it.
Doesn't look very good.
But I really liked what he did with the.
Maybe it's amazing.
What's
I
Good
don't know.
News or whatever he did.
Hmm.
Oh,
But yeah, so Wrong Turn 2 in a long way around to get to this Wrong Turn 2. Jeez.
Look at you, Josh.
Quiet Place 2 is on my very short list.
Drinking too much.
I have to watch it.
it took too
I gotta-
much, man.
We got to get you some coffee.
I gotta watch it. I
All right,
have to
Quiet
watch
Place 2. I agree with you. I really love turning my basement into like my ultimate movie theater, which is why I'm strong on the movies at
Yes!
home.
Yeah,
I got a 65-inch TV. I've got colors. I've got surround sound. I've got the sound bar. I've got a popcorn
Yes.
machine. It's like
Yes.
I don't want to go to
All
theaters
the
anymore
things.
because everything is. I got a lazy boy. Like my theater is in my basement and it's awesome. I watched Quiet Place 2. I liked Quiet Place. I didn't love A Quiet Place. I liked A Quiet Place. I liked Quiet Place 2. It's not my favorite movie on this list. I definitely like Dark and the Wicked more, but it's in my top 3 or 4 of all these movies I've talked about.
Can I ask you a
Nice.
question?
Yes.
I feel like, again, spoilers sort of for a 4-year-old movie. I feel like A Quiet Place sort of turns in the middle somewhere where it goes from like scary, like what the hell is going to happen if somebody makes a noise, to suddenly it's like an action horror video game. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Like
yeah.
suddenly they're just blasting things away with guns and stuff. Does that pick up in 2
Yeah.
and
Yeah, no,
stay
that
that
happens.
same tone?
No, it doesn't
Okay.
stay that tone, but that happens again. There's a part in the movie where it picks up and you get more action-oriented scenes. It's
Okay,
not
I'm okay
unlike
with that.
it's not unlike it was the thing I was going to bring up. It's not unlike Jaws or Cloverfield or like I feel like that happens a lot with like monster movies. Like that's
Where
just
there's,
kind
like,
of the
lulls.
yeah, that's just kind of like the way they go. And eventually you have to pick up. Cloverfield's a really great like choice because eventually it picks up and you've just got to go with it. Quiet Place 2 is very smart. They keep true to the premise and you stick with that for a good while, like an hour. You're really into the premise. And then you get a twist. Or not a twist, a new development that changes things. And you're like, look at this. And then they play with that for a bit, and then you finally get like some hope. And it's just a really good sequel. I wasn't overly surprised. I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe this is where they took it. It wasn't that at all. It's just a really, it's just good. It's
It
just good.
sounds
It's good movie.
solid. Solid
And it's
is-
satisfying. It's one of those things that wraps things up just very satisfying. Like it's good. It plays with tension very well. The guy that they added to it, I forget his name, but he's famous. So let me look it up here. Quiet Place 2.
Will Smith.
No, Will Smith.
Oh, it's Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy. He's
Oh,
a
yeah,
Scarecrow
I like
in The
him.
Dark Knight and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. He does a great job kind of taking John's place. You know, like he kind of becomes this focal person for the daughter. So I think he does a great job at it. And I liked it a lot.
good acting.
So it's a big blockbuster movie. It'd be a shame if we didn't talk about it on the show. So those are all of my favorites. I think everything on my list we've either talked about at least a little bit. My favorites were The Dark and the Wicked and A Quiet Place 2, The Forever Purge. Oh, I got one more. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Not my favorite Conjuring movie. I'd probably rate it behind 2. Doesn't mean it was bad.
Wow.
Might be Josh's favorite Conjuring movie. It's very like woman empowering, which is fine. I don't not like it because of that reason.
My
It's
mom
just-
would be so proud.
it's just very like his wife is the focal character of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I don't mind it at all. It's just it's different. It's a different. I forget who it is. I could look it up. I don't want to because I want to try to pivot to part 2 of the show. So, but whoever did it's different. It's a different director, different writer. It feels different from the other Conjuring movies. But the Warrens are great. right? And the cast
Yes.
is great, and it pulls through because of that reason. So it was good. It was good. It's not as good as Forever Purge. It's not as good as The Dark and the Wicked. You guys, if you're hearing me, go watch The Dark and the Wicked. It's really fucking good.
Yes.
I'm
And a
do
classic
it.
horror story too. Also very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll do it for us on part 1 of The Decade of Horror, the sequel, where we've talked about all of our favorite movies since last time we recorded. We hope you stick with us for part 2, patrons, where we talk about our plans for this upcoming Halloween, answer some of your questions and all the other stuff. So we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho! Ha ha ha!
Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I hope you get to check out my good fiends at A Decade of Horror on the PSVG Podcast Network. I hope you love them like I do. They're a scream.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up, ghouls and ghosts? Welcome back to A Decade of Horror, the sequel, part 2. If there's ever been a better way to do a horror podcast, I don't know if there is one of them. The sequel, part 2. I suddenly feel like everything in my ears sounds different. Oh, I sound okay to you guys?
You
sound
sound
great.
the same.
Okay, so part 1, we talked about all of our favorite movies that we've watched since the last time we recorded, which is a year ago. So we caught you up on A Decade of Horror. Now we're going to do a little Patreon DLC and have a little fun with it, like we used to before we created this podcast that enveloped us watching 1,000 movies and recording 10 podcasts in 2 months like we did last year. So in this podcast, I want to know, what are you guys doing for Halloween? Like, how do you guys normally celebrate it? It's spooky season, right? It's October 2nd. So how do you celebrate Halloween? What's like upcoming, and how, you know, like, what are you planning to watch? And you don't have to answer those all at once. We can talk about, like, let's just talk about, how do you celebrate Halloween? Like, when you guys get into the Halloween spirit, what do you do? What do you guys do at the Bourbon house, Josh?
So life has changed in the past 4 years from what we used to do to what we do, and then COVID has changed the past 2 of those 4 years. And when you have a 1 or 2 year old, you don't do shit anyways. So Halloween has been weird here. How
was Halloween last year with like COVID?
It was better because people were feeling a little bit more comfortable going out, and people were wearing masks.
So you guys did trick or treat. We had a lot of folks that
Well,
didn't trick or treat last year.
Yeah, so at my city did. I don't know. So for me, Halloween is something I've never taken it off for work. So if it falls on a weekday, I just don't get to participate. Like based on my schedule, I'm always working
Yeah.
nights.
You work
So
nights, yeah.
I miss that part. So for me, my son, he's 4 now. I've never been an active participant in Halloween for him. It's always been my wife. So she would take him out to friends' houses like last year.
That
we
like
went
hurts
to-
my heart to just
I-
100%.
I know,
Like when
it
I
sounds
hear that,
so
I'm just
sad.
like,
Yeah,
that's
it's hard,
awful.
but I'm
That's the
also
best
in
part of being a
job-
dad.
Yeah, I'm also in a job where everyone I work with also tries to take Halloween off.
Sure, of course.
So and then it goes seniority. So you're
Yep.
just kind of stuck. But this year, Halloween is on a weekend, which means this year will be my first year to participate in Halloween with my son.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it's not just on a weekend, it's on a Sunday.
Yeah, the best
I have a-
day of the week.
I have a neighbor who's very church going and old school, and he saw me putting up my pumpkins, which we'll get to in a little bit, but he asked me, how do you feel about, he's like, Halloween's on a Sunday this year, don't you know? And I said, so?
What town you live in?
Who the fuck cares?
Like, yes, it happens every 8 years. Get over yourself.
But please continue, Josh.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. He already has his costume, so he's going to be a fire truck. Because, kids, 4-year-old boys.
It's a transformer.
I'll tell you what my costume is. It's going to be a nurse shark, and I'm going to buy
They're a shark.
the left shark costume and then go buy scrubs from the local working gear store, and I'm going to cut a slit in the back so the fin comes out the back of the scrubs, and I will be a nurse shark.
That's amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you. This year I'm almost considering not dressing up for Halloween because gained so much weight that I just feel awful when I put on a Halloween costume. Like
No.
I wanted to be Michael Myers, and I
Yeah.
got like a jumpsuit, and then I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm just fat Michael Myers, and I don't want to be fat Michael Myers. So maybe I won't do. I'm being just 100% honest.
What if you put
I
on
know, I
lifts?
feel bad laughing.
Like you put on like tall shoes.
I swear to you, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm just fat Michael. This is not Michael Myers. This is fat Michael Myers. And I don't want the kids being like, go to fat Michael Myers' house. Cause they will. Cause I would have, that's fair game. I totally would have.
Kids are mean, man.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Kids
I don't know
are
if I want to do
terrible.
that. So I don't know if I'll dress up, but, for me, Halloween, I always celebrate. I always decorate. I started decorating our neighborhood a few years ago when we moved in. We moved in 2014 because nobody in my neighborhood was doing trick or treating, which killed my heart. So I started decorating and started posting pictures, and then basically just started smack talking. And we've now gotten 12, 15, 20 houses that are doing it now. So I feel better.
Nice.
Like we actually get a good flow. COVID was weird. We
Yeah.
pre-packaged candy and put it in a table away from the house so people could just come pick it up. Which felt weird because I wanted them to walk up the stairs and all that. So
But at least you're doing something. Instead
Yeah,
of saying, canceled.
last year was light. It was light, but we still had trick-or-treaters. So I'm hoping this year maybe we get a little bit more. But yeah, everybody knows if you follow me on Twitter, I do my decorations every year. When I first did it, I started doing the lights around the railings and pumpkins, and then I started adding some reapers. And then last year I added a graveyard. I bought some tombstones. This year I found a YouTube tutorial that showed me how to make do it yourself pumpkin people. So use some PVC pipe and you put some pumpkins on with some toggle bolts and stuff. It's a really cheap way to get some effective decorations. I'm not sure how much you guys do decorating, but if you go to Spirit Halloween, try to get some cool freestanding decorations, they're $100 a piece.
Yeah.
So if you want 10 of them, you're talking $1,000, it's a very expensive prospect. So I went to Home Depot and I basically spent $250 and I made 10 of these pumpkin people, and they've got lights and stuff in their masks and stuff. And then I bought a smoke machine. So this year my house will be lit up with smoke and stuff, and I'll have Chuck in the porch and we'll have all of our lights and sounds and stuff. I always, I like to think, I'm sure this is not the truth, but I like to think that I kick off Halloween in our neighborhood because around 5:30 on Halloween day, I sound the purge sirens. On
Oh, no.
my wife was a former DJ, so we have these big ass speakers. So I sound the purge sirens, and then like we start seeing people show up. So and I have like a whole horror music playlist. So I'm really into it. I love celebrating Halloween. It's my favorite thing to do. One year I streamed. It was a hit. Like
I
a lot
remember
of
that.
a lot
Yeah.
of people really liked it. I haven't done it since. It just
You
it's
play
a lot.
Layers of Fear, I think.
It's a lot to do.
When
Like
you
to
play
have
that?
the TV, to have the console, to have it
Yeah.
all set up on the porch, and like it almost makes me feel like unattached from the people that are coming to my house. You know, it's like, hey, here's some candy. Like, please leave. I'm playing a video game. But it was cool. Like people liked it. I got a lot of questions. Like people came up, they waved hi and stuff. I've thought about doing it again, but I don't think I will. But yeah, so I love decorating and I love watching horror movies. I've got a list of horror movies. I'm very excited to tell you guys what's on the docket for this year, the
Yeah.
Halloween plan. If I can get through them all. And then, yeah. Oh, and I forgot. I put up a movie theater in my house for Halloween.
Oh,
We got the big projector and the big screen, like a 90-inch projectable screen. We put it in the driveway. So as people walk up to the house, not only do we have all the lights and ghouls and everything, but we actually have a movie playing. And we put chairs up if they want to sit down. Nobody does, but if they wanted to, they can. So that's what we do. What about you, Lucas? How are you celebrating the Halloween season?
That keeps kind of evolving as my kids get older. My son is now 6, my daughter's 2. So when my son was 2 and I had no daughter, it was a little bit easier because you know exactly what age range you're shooting for. But now, there's a 4-year difference, and so it's kind of like, what do we do? A lot of the time, as far as trick or treating goes, what we end up doing is we'll either go to a sort of smaller town that my wife is from, and we'll trick or treat there because she knows a lot of
Haddonfield?
the houses.
Salem?
Yeah,
Hackensack?
exactly. She'll know a lot of the ghouls and ghosts there, and the kids will go with their uncle and aunt, but technically it's more like cousins. And so that usually ends up being pretty good. It's a smaller town. All the houses are packed together pretty closely, so you get that small town feel, but you also don't have to like walk super far, unlike some towns where it's like all country and you're like the nearest neighbor is half a mile away. So that's always good. But then also we've done the sort of parking lot trick-or-treating experience where it's like trunk or treat, I think they call
Yeah.
it.
yes. Yeah.
And it's usually in like a church parking lot or something like
My
that.
wife is doing trick or treat at their church, and she wanted me to decorate her van. And I was like,
This
"That's
will not be
awesome."
appropriate.
Well, I immediately said like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it." And then I was like, so our van is red. It's like crimson red. I was like, "So here's the deal. It's the devil. We put devil horns on it with a tail." And she was like, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "Are you creatively stifling me?" And she was like, "It has to be like not just child friendly, like 3-year-old friendly." And I was like, "I'm out.
Right.
I can't work under these conditions." And I bailed from the project.
I don't blame you. Cute Halloween is like the worst thing that's ever happened to Halloween.
We have a neighbor.
Smiling pumpkins, like what?
We have a neighbor who puts up all the inflatables from Home Depot every year,
Oh, God.
Yeah.
and I loathe them.
I love
I
all
actively hate them.
inflatables of all.
I get that.
Holidays.
That makes sense.
I'm like, ugh, this is so sad. Isn't it Christmas? Stop.
I don't blame you. Yeah, so like that's kind of the plan so far. Other than that, I get into like the costume part of it
Sure.
pretty big, and so I think we are. Well, I say we. It's gonna end up being me. I'm trying to devise how to make my son a creeper from Minecraft
Ooh, that's awesome.
with cardboard.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty simple.
I was gonna say, thankfully, it's just the big problem is like how the hell do you move in that? Because
you're
creepers
square.
don't have knees. Yeah,
like you kind of
exactly.
need to do it where I would imagine you'd put the rectangles like on the forearm, but not the bicep,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
has
you have
some
to-
motion, but he's still rectangle.
Yep. You kind of gotta scallop it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overlay. It's like a suit of armor, basically.
Not too bad.
Let's go with it.
Yeah. So that's more like where my try hard goes towards is the costuming aspect. The problem with like decorating around here is that we're at the end of the street and we intersect with the busy street, which sounds like you'd get a lot of traffic, but foot traffic, no. It's mostly
Right.
just car traffic. So nobody
Yeah.
really cares about what you do down here. All of it is in like the heart of the neighborhood, which is farther down.
See, here's the problem, Lucas. You're doing it for other people. You got to do it for you. You got to do it for your own soul, right?
I can't remember the last
I don't
time
care
did something for
if
me.
no trick or treaters come here, as long as I know that I kicked the other house's ass at
Yeah,
decorating for
that's true.
Halloween.
That's true.
There you
I don't
go.
think we've ever had. We were going to actually we've never had candy for trick or treaters because nobody ever really comes this way. But we were going to do it one year. We were going to do it one year and light it up, make sure everybody knows. Everybody got sick because this was before we had kids, or at least my son was really young.
So it was a sign.
Yeah, no, it didn't end up happening because nobody wanted. Because like I didn't want to do
Right.
it because I was super sick. My wife
Sure.
was super sick. We didn't end up doing anything. It
They
was
just turned all the
awful.
lights off. And they're like, go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, nobody's here. We left.
My
The shame. The shame.
my kids dress up. It has turned because they're older now, right? Victoria's
Yeah.
15. She's almost driving, for Christ's sakes. Jack's 12. So they dress up now, and now they want to go with their friends. So like before, I used to always bribe them, like, hey, if you stay home with dad and help hand out candy, I'll just buy you some candy. You don't need to trick or treat. We'll just buy you bags of candy.
Right.
Now they want to go trick or treat with their friends. So it turns out last year and this year, and I imagine years going forward, like now they'll all leave, and I'll be home alone handing out candy, and then
Crying.
they'll come back to me at some point in the night.
Yeah, probably.
You're going to be the victim of a horror movie.
We usually, well, you might, yeah, that might be true. That's a great premise, actually. Like, can you imagine,
yeah.
like the one family member that stays home and like hands out candy, like gets haunted? Like that's pretty good.
I miss all my kids. They all moved away.
I do. We usually, when they come back early, we usually put up a movie. Last year it was Cloverfield. We put up a movie in the driveway, and we order pizza. And like we as a family sit out in the driveway and we watch a movie together and we eat
Nice.
pizza and stuff. So I don't know if we'll do it again this year, but I
I'd
hope
come
so.
to that, dude. If I,
I hope
lived
so.
in that neighborhood.
I invite the neighbors too. I'm like, hey, you want to come watch? Like it's driveway's open. Like come pull up a chair. You know,
I'll stand out in the yard of my house and I'll look over there.
right?
And then I'll go inside.
All right. So every year during Halloween, I pull together a list of movies that I want to watch with my wife.
Heck yeah.
And we try to comb through. I try to give her a bunch of different stuff that I think she'll like, as well as expose her to new stuff. So that's like my tradition. My tradition is
you
like
let-
we're watching Halloween movies.
Do you let her lead the way and say, all right, like, what do you want to watch first out of this list? Or do you just say, tonight we're watching this?
Nope. It's literally like blockbuster picks, like staff picks. It's like I have cultivated a list of movies that I want you to see. I will solicit opinion. I will go, is there anything at all that you have seen that you want to see that you haven't seen? I will put it in this list. And the answer 7 out of 7 years in a row has always been no. There's no horror movie that she's aware of that she wants to see. But I put a list together, and the list building I take very seriously because I want to give her a little taste of everything. I try to mix up the genres so it doesn't feel so repetitive. I try to give her stuff from big blockbuster, well-known franchises, as well as like little-known, lesser-known, like kind of cultish stuff. Also, I find I've discovered trends that I think she gravitates to. She loves religious horror. Anything that's like Exorcist stuff, she likes that. That stuff scares her. She also loves classics. For whatever reason, my wife loves to sit down with popcorn and like watch a good old-fashioned black and white dumb horror movie. Like she's into it. The other thing that she likes is really, really cheesy 80s horror, which sets
Heck
my
yeah.
heart on fire. It
Yeah.
makes me so happy. We've had such great hits watching Chopping Mall together or Night of the Comet. Like she loves these terrible 80s horror movies. So I always try to pick a few of those as well. So I'm very excited to tell you guys my list of horror movies for this upcoming year. And if you guys want to watch them or if our listeners want to watch them and let me know what they think about them as well. But what about you guys? Before I get into my list and we all get into our own list, like, do you guys watch horror movies every year, you know, during October? Like, is it a thing for you guys? Do you build a list or anything like that? How do you do it, Josh?
I think, yeah, I mean, October obviously like gives you the reason to do it.
Sure.
I don't. I mean, if you were to like message me in April and be like, "Hey, Josh, this awesome horror movie came out," I'm not like the type of person to be like, "Save it for October, man. I'll watch it then."
Yeah.
I just, horror has always been a part of my movie DNA. Like, it's very important to me, so I'm always watching horror. The last 2 years have been weird, just kind of how cinema works in general. Also, I was introduced to Shudder in the past 2 years, so that has obviously like dramatically changed horror.
Damn it, we should get free Shutter subscriptions or the amount
I
of
know,
we
yeah.
plug
How
the
many
shit
times
up.
you said it?
Patrons, we don't get anything from plugging Shutter as
No.
much as we do.
But
Use our
I
offer
mean,
code Decade of Horror for 15% off your first.
that's the thing with Shudder though. Like that is the first subscription service that you know exactly what you're signing up for.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all you're getting.
Yeah.
Like, so people, you sign up for Shudder. It's not a surprise to you to be listening to this or to talk about this because like I want to watch horror films, and like the critics can be really rough on Shudder, also. But
I actually, you know what? I'm gonna push back a bit. I actually find like the ratings on Shudder, and when I see the reviews and review scores, I scroll down in the comments and stuff. I think they're like real horror fans. I really think they
Yeah.
do a really good job of like telling you like what's good versus what's not. It's one of the many things that I appreciate about it being. It's one of the reasons I'm a Shudder subscriber, because when I
Yeah.
see a 3 out of 5 star horror movie on Shudder, guess what? It's a 3 out of 5 star horror movie. It's not a good horror movie that people just don't appreciate. It's just not very good.
yeah, I agree 100%. It definitely like tells that side of like horror fans. Like
Yeah.
you don't have the sub if you don't love horror, which is great.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. But I mean, yeah, Candyman's on my short list, right? You talked about that.
Sure.
I just dying to watch it. But for one of my movies for this year is actually, you talked about it earlier, Don't Breathe Part 1. A movie that we talked about during Decade of Horror that
Mhm.
I never got around to. But I always loved the premise of the story. And I mean, obviously, things have been spoiled from between 1 and 2 now more about the main character. Because I'm like, how does Don't Breathe 2 happen? That doesn't make sense on paper. More people break into his house.
No, not that at
So-
all.
no,
You
and I
gotta
know
watch to
that's not
find
the
out.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the case. So I was always curious about where they would take that. So between those two, yeah, like Don't Breathe is definitely on that list to watch.
Lucas, how do you guys celebrate Halloween in terms of the horror movie watching?
I'm the only one watching horror movies. Let's just.
Oh, really? Just
get
by
that out
yourself?
there. It's always been that way.
I
My wife cannot handle them.
I empathize with you a little bit because for years I've been trying to get my kids to watch them with me. I'm like, kids, like, is now the year? So my
Yeah.
daughter recently grabbed a boyfriend. It's her first year in high school. She tells me, Dad, my boyfriend loves horror movies. He'll watch them with you. I'm like, I don't
Oh.
fucking watch horror movies with your shitty boyfriend. Okay?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck about this kid. Okay? Don't ever bring him here.
He's like, what does your dad like? My dad likes horror movies. Oh, so do I. I love horror movies.
I try to get her to watch horror movies. You know what she uses? She uses a tactic to like negotiate other things. She's like,
Oh,
I will watch a
God.
horror movie with you if you
Yeah.
buy me such
Yeah,
and such. And I'm
yeah.
like, get out of my house.
I think my daughter might be the one who watches horror movies with me. However,
I'm envious.
that is many, many, many years down
course.
the road from now.
My son
So-
has no interest. He's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, my son's the same way. He's terrified of.
He's terrified of
flies.
everything. He
I-
literally
yeah.
won't sleep in the room. Like our lights went out and we were
Well,
sleeping in
I
the
don't-
basement.
I don't
He
blame
wouldn't
him for
sleep
that.
in the basement
I
because
mean-
I had to move Chucky.
Neither would I.
What?
I mean, I was also that way
Terrifying.
for a long time. I was intrigued by horror movies, but also scared by them. But like as I grew older, I came to like them more and more and more. So maybe
Lucas, I feel like I have generations of knowledge that I want to just download
Impart.
into my kids and let them
Right.
understand the amazingness that they're not aware of, but they won't let me.
Isn't that the plight of the father, though? Is that they like something and none of their offspring care about it?
Kills
at
me.
all.
It
Could
absolutely
be anything.
kills me.
Cars, horror movies,
Please,
chess.
like Mario
doesn't
Kart.
matter.
I hate Mario. Oh
Yeah.
man.
I hate Mario and everything it stands for. No, I'm the one who watches them, and I do, tend to pick up. It's funny because it goes kind of on a varying scale from year to year. Sometimes it'll be I watch it like 30 like the month of October is a movie every night,
Yeah.
and then other
Yeah.
years it's like I watch 5 in 1 week,
Aw.
and that's it. But I think this year, like, man, I haven't been watching a ton of movies, and I feel like I want to catch up on the horror movies that I've not been watching lately.
Now we're
So,
talking.
well, because I've got such a list of movies that I've missed, and I just kind of feel like now's the time to catch up on that list. So the time is right. I think once I get started, it will kind of snowball into like watching the next and the next. And that's kind of what I think is probably going to happen this year, is because that used to be a big thing. Like, I know for a lot of people, it's like, oh, we watch horror movies in October. And
Right.
Yeah.
like, it's easier when you're not the one leading that charge to just kind of fall in and be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this thing. But when you're the one who has to like set it up for yourself, it can be easy to just be like, oh God, October's over already. And now it's November.
Sure.
What happened? So
Well, that's a great
the stuff.
segue, because that's what this segment is for. This segment is
Sure.
for us to help you build your October list of horror movies.
Ooh, baby.
And I've got a list that I'm very excited to share with you. So here's how I do this: is throughout the years, when I'm watching movies, I come up, I watch documentaries, I watch TV shows. TV shows can be part of this as well. They're definitely
Okay.
part of mine.
Okay.
I come up with ideas and I start putting them on a short list, and then I start kind of arranging them in like groups for me and my wife. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're gonna do this year. So, fellas, this year I'm very excited, and so I think the way we should do this is we'll do this one person at a time, and then if we have crossovers, we can talk about them naturally. We've got some new arrivals that I'm absolutely going to watch this month. So Halloween Kills
Oh,
comes out this
man.
month. It's the follow-up to Halloween with Danny McBride, and was his name like Jason Gordon Green or whatever, the director. So that movie is coming at home. You can watch that at home. You can rent it day one, which I'm super excited. I was so excited. I was so let down because they were holding on firm, like only in theaters. I'm like, I am not going to a theater right now. So I'm very excited that they came off of that a little bit and I can watch Halloween at home. Texas Chainsaw reboot is coming at home on Netflix, as well as the brand new Child's Play Chucky series on Sci-Fi in USA from Don Mancini, which comes out the 13th,
Yeah.
which I'm so fucking excited for. You guys know me. I'm absolutely going to be there the 13th. Like the moment the episode airs, I'll be watching it live every episode, and I hope that they let me buy a box set afterwards. For those of you who don't know, Don Mancini, the original creator of Child's Play, the Chucky series that you know and love, and did The Bride of Chucky and everything since then. He is doing a made-for-TV series, an episodic series of Chucky for Sci-Fi and USA that starts airing on the 13th, and it stars a gay boy going to school, and it's all in Chucky's hometown of Hackensack, and all kinds of Chucky stuff will happen. Like Jennifer Tilly's back, Fiona Dourif, who is the daughter of Brad Dourif, who voices Chucky from Lord of the Rings fame. Like it's kind of like a Chucky universe type of thing happening. So I'm very, very, very excited. So on the series fronts and new arrivals, I'll be working those in as they arrive and appear. I'm very excited for those. But as I mentioned earlier, I always kind of cultivate a list for my life to experience, and I love that I love the responsibility of preparing something for someone, and I don't always hit, right? It's hit and miss. Like over the years, I find like she doesn't like this, she likes this. Like she doesn't like gore, but she likes these things, and I try to appeal that out for a little bit. So for this year, my list is Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2, We will be working into the rotation this year. She's never seen them. She thinks she's seen them. And I think she thinks that just because I watch a lot of zombie movies. She thinks she's seen them, but she has no idea.
I think it's
the
one of
first
those
one, too.
those movies are like the ones that you think you've seen because they've been on TV a lot, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I've seen a few scenes, and then you think you've seen it, but
Right. The classics.
sit down and watch it front to back.
To raise her awareness, but get out of her comfort zone, we are going to watch Videodrome and Hellraiser.
Ooh, oh yeah, baby.
Hellraiser's
Yeah,
going to
baby.
hurt. Hellraiser's going to hurt. I even told her, I'm like, you need to prepare for this.
Yeah.
Like, you're not ready for this.
Are you ready to see a man without skin? 'Cause-
Yeah. Hellraiser's going to hurt, but she appreciates that. I also bought the Blu-ray for Trick or Treat, the OG and the remake, but I'm going to start with
Oh.
Trick or Treat 1 and let her try that one. We're going to do Vincent Price's House on Haunted Hill for our classic pick of the year. She loves these old classic movies. We've done Vertigo and like all the Hitchcock stuff within the original Frankenstein. So this year we're doing Vincent Price, House on Haunted Hill. You can't ever go wrong with that. We're going to do Lake Placid at some point this month.
Ooh, I love that movie.
So do I. I love, like, you guys know me. I've talked about it. I love the shark movies. I love open water. I like these creature features. Like, these are great. I'm very excited for this one because I think she's going to love it. After we watched Night of the Comet, which she loved, and I think alcohol is a big part of this. Like, we sit down, I get some popcorn, we start drinking, and we watch these corny 80s movies. So we did Night of the Comet, which she loved. She did Choppy Mall, which she loved. This year, I'm going to throw her The Stuff. And we're going to watch The Stuff. Have you guys seen The Stuff?
I really felt
The
like that's
evil
where you were
whipped
going with
cream
that, but no, I don't.
Corporation movie?
I feel like I've seen the cover because it's got the guy going
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I've seen
The
that.
Stuff
I have
is
not
really
seen the
good
movie,
and
though.
corny and cheesy and stupid and awesome. And I think that's going to fit right down her lane. In the comedic front, I'm going to go a little new school, and we're going to do Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I have not seen this
Nice.
movie in many years. So I'm very excited to watch it again, and she hasn't seen it. And you always got to throw in something.
Yeah.
Also keeping the comedy front, we're going to do Little Shop of Horrors.
Ooh, nice. That's a good pick.
We're going to do Bordello of Blood from Tales from the Crypt.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah.
Last year we did Vampires.
Yeah.
And the year before that, we did the Selma Hayek Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah. Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, yeah, yeah.
sorry.
So,
From
like,
dusk-
keeping
from
in that
dusk
regard.
From dusk till dawn.
We're doing Bordello of Blood. We're gonna do Evil Dead 2
Ooh. Good.
because 3 years ago we did Evil Dead. Last
Okay.
year we did the Evil Dead remake,
Oh no,
now
that's
we're
gonna
gonna
be
do-
weird.
Evil Dead 2, which I keep telling them like you're gonna like this one way more than you like the other ones.
But isn't that weird going from the Evil Dead remake to Evil Dead 2?
I don't care. I love the Evil Dead remake so much. I just wanted her to see it.
Oh, I mean, I love it, but
Sure.
it must be weird for someone who's not a. Evil
This
Dead,
one's a
right?
new one for me. This is very rare that I get a brand new movie for me that I put on my list. But I saw a review a couple weeks ago on Twitter. It was really nice. This is a movie on Netflix called No One Gets Out Alive
Yeah.
that I haven't watched that apparently is very good. So I'm going to throw that on for me. And then we're going to wrap up the month with one of my favorite horror movies of all time that she's never seen, that I've loved forever. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
Whoa.
Wow.
Who hasn't seen that before?
She hasn't. She's never
Wow.
seen any of the Nightmares. I watched 2 years ago. I did Nightmare on Elm Street 1. So here's how I warmed her up. So for those of you out there, if your wife isn't into horror stuff, or your significant other, whatever, if you've got somebody that you like to watch TV with, spend time with that isn't into horror, instead of showing them Nightmare on Elm Street and being like, I never want to watch that again, I actually showed them the Nightmare on Elm Street documentary. And she watched the documentary, and then I let her watch Nightmare on Elm Street. And I think that warmed her up to it a lot more. We're going to skip Nightmare on Elm Street 2. She wanted to watch New Nightmare because she likes Scream. And I'm going to save that for next year. We're going to get to it. But I told her, I was like, we can't watch New Nightmare without watching Nightmare on Elm Street 3. She's like, why? Because Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the best Nightmare on Elm Street. And if you have a differing opinion, that's fine. You're wrong. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the best Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not close. It's my favorite one.
Agreed.
And so we're going to do that. And then that's my, so you think about it, I just read off, it's like 15 movies. I got 50 movies to get through in the next 29 days. So I don't know how many I'm going to get through. I'm definitely going to get through at least half of them, but I'm very excited. So that's my lineup for this Halloween. What about you guys?
Nice.
Let's start with you, Lucas.
Sure. Yeah, I was just kind of trying to separate my giant list. So I've got some newer things that we've talked about, like Candyman, Psycho Gorman, Quiet Place 2. Those things
Nice.
that I still want to watch.
Those are good things.
Along with do you remember like Possessor came out a while ago, and
It's on Hulu.
I
Yeah.
completely missed it.
I never
And-
watched it either. I would love to know, how is it?
yeah, hopefully I watch it, but it's another one of those movies that got caught up in like the, hey, you might as well forget about movies for a while because nothing's getting
Sure.
getting released. Along with, the other stuff you guys have talked about, Seance, The Dark and the Wicked. But then I'm going to go through, I don't know, when it comes to Halloween, I tend to more gravitate towards the stuff I've already seen, but it's been a while. And by a while, sometimes I mean a year, but it's enough time.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorites that I need to go back and watch again, Event Horizon, Hereditary, because I haven't seen Hereditary since the theaters.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a while.
Yeah, I know. I need to buy it. That's what I've been waiting for, is
Yes.
to just purchase it. So that's why I've waited on it. I have the Paranormal Activity collection, and I've seen 1 and 2, I believe, but
Yeah.
I actually want to get through all of the what is it, 5 Paranormal Activities?
5. Yeah.
In that collection. So I want to get through all those. Alien and Aliens.
Which ones have you seen?
1 and 2. I
Okay.
believe, and it's been like
Do you remember
a
from
few
Decade of
years
Horror?
after they.
Number 3 is my favorite.
Yeah. I remember.
I
that.
never got to that one. I don't think
My
I've
favorite.
gotten to that one.
And it's
so-
on my list for next year. Next year, we're going to watch it.
Ooh, I want to get through the whole collection. I got the 5 movie set Blu-ray. So
So I want
just
you to
wanna watch the
remember
whole thing.
this when you're watching them
Yeah.
all. I would love to hear what you think about Paranormal Activity 5, because most people hate it, and I kind of liked it.
Is that the marked ones?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Okay.
Yeah,
I
that was like,
remember
it
hearing
was almost like
not
made
great.
for DVD release, and everybody was like, it's terrible. And I watched it, and I was like, it's really not that bad. I kind of enjoyed it. But I've always wondered, is that because I really like Paranormal Activity and it's bad?
Right.
Or is it because I really like Paranormal Activity and it's good? I don't know.
I wonder what. Well, and especially watching them back to back to back like that, I wonder what the effect there will be as
Good
well.
point.
Alien and Aliens, just like some of my
course.
favorite movies of all time.
You gotta do
so
that every
it's a-
couple years.
Ghostbusters, I haven't watched in a while, honestly, and I would like to go back and visit.
The new one?
No, the older. The older.
I never watched the new one.
No, I haven't either.
Well, that was just Ghostbusters, right? And then the new one's Afterlife, the one that
So-
hasn't been released yet.
Ghostbusters
Afterlife
Afterlife.
is upcoming,
Oh,
right?
that's a new one.
Yeah,
That's the
Yep.
Stranger Things one. I never watched the one where it had the whole female cast.
Yeah,
The
I watched it and it was okay. It's
Okay.
definitely, it has a different tone, I think, than the originals, but I didn't get the hate. I didn't
It's a
get.
tough
I know a lot
cast
of.
to follow up.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
for
the
sure.
problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's-
is. It is.
Yeah, it's not a female male thing. It's just like you're following up Bill Murray in the gang. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're
it's
doomed.
dim. It's a high bar. Yeah, like
Exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
And then going along with some of the older stuff I haven't seen, Shaun of the Dead has been a while. 28 Days Later, because we were talking about zombie movies, and I realized I haven't seen that in a long. That was like the first like
You're talking my
zombies
thing,
can
man.
be fast. What is
I
that?
hate that they never remastered that movie. Do you know that?
Yeah.
That movie is shot
does-
in like the Handycam, Sony Handycam that it was originally shot on. They've never up-res it or anything.
Wow.
So when you rewatch it, it's blurry and ugly as fuck. Like, it's,
Oh no.
like I really, really want a Blu-ray remastered version
I-
of 28 Days Later.
Probably haven't seen that movie in like 8 to 10 years. So
It
this is
looks
gonna
like it
be-
was made, like, 4
oh
years
no.
ago.
Oh no.
So
Rounding out the entire list with a movie that I think pretty much personifies the feeling of Halloween, at least to me, and that is with The Witch. Just the grayest brown and gray movie you can think of
Yeah.
with that old English feel. So
I was
just drab.
bracing for you to actually say Halloween. Because it was so funny because I was
You on
putting
the
my
nose.
list together and I was like, there's not enough slashers on here. And then I realized, I was like, yeah, but I'll be watching an episode of Chucky every week. And I'll be watching Halloween Kills and Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of slashers in here.
That's true.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a mix of like newer stuff that hasn't come out yet or came out recently, and then the older stuff that you
Yeah.
just heard. So
Catching up.
We'll see how much I get to though. This is kind of like an ultimate wish list. I would be surprised if I get to 80% of
Of
it.
course, if I miss one or two or three or four, I'll be fine. But my wife knows that, like, basically, so here's how I do it. Friday and Saturday nights are dedicated to horror movies. We might watch one Saturday morning. So, like, between those 2 days, we might get 2 or 3 movies in a week. That gets me to 8 or 10, 12 movies a month. And then if I can get her to watch one more during the weekend, you know, like, we're pretty good Saturday night, Sunday night, you know, something like that. Like, we can get through a lot. But yeah, I it's so funny because I'm not going to read them all, but I already have a list going for next year. So like the ones that I have going for next year haven't made the cut for this year. So I'm always kind of
Right.
keeping a list. So next year I've got The Descent, 13 Ghosts, Paranormal Activity 3, Reanimator, Tremors, Gremlins 2, Psycho 2. I'm going to do Prom Night. She hasn't seen Prom Night. And Scream 2 and The Village. And Drag Me to Hell, which is interesting. I have
God,
never
Drag
seen
Me to-
Drag Me to Hell.
Really? I
What?
remember watching that.
I own it.
thinking,
I bought the movie
Johnny,
years ago and
you
I just
have
never watched it.
seen it.
I never got to it.
You can't
feel
wait
like-
another year to watch that. You gotta watch that.
I feel like that's a movie
Now.
though that
My
just
list is too
people don't
full,
talk
Josh.
about.
Fix it. Fix your list.
Fix the list.
You
Hashtag
gotta
fix
watch
the list.
it now. You
I remember when
gotta
it came
watch
out and a lot of people hated it. And then I feel like as the years went on, as horror movies do, a lot of people started talking about how great it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those
And-
people were dummies who hated it. It's
And I bought it.
Perfect.
And I think it's like, I look at it very much the same way as I look at like As Above, So Below. Like that movie came out, everybody was like, it's awful. I watched it and I was like, it's amazing.
I think honestly, okay, so it came out in
It's-
2009. I think it was a little bit ahead of its time for.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
for sure.
I think
For
it would have
sure.
fit more like 2012, and people would have been fine with it.
Okay, so you guys think I should move it up my list
You should watch it tomorrow.
tomorrow, like right away.
You should watch it
You
tonight.
should be watching it on your phone right now.
So what do I move down then?
everything.
Everything.
Yeah, what's your number one?
All right, Josh, so should I move Evil Dead 2 to next year to watch?
Yes.
You really think so?
Wow,
It's-
swap it
Drag
out.
Me to Hell is so good. It's so good.
I haven't seen it in so long though.
Lucas.
I probably haven't watched it since 2009. to be
Drag
honest
Me to
with you.
Hell fits as what's the word I want to use? It fits in with Evil Dead, like it's kin.
I do remember it having like that feel where doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's also still scary.
Right.
Is everything else on here,
We didn't
like,
get
I-
an Evil Dead 3. This is our Evil Dead 3.
Everything else on here, like I really want to watch.
Make this number one though.
Okay.
Prioritize it.
All
and
you're
then
really
see if you
doing
can
is
keep the
dropping
rest of it.
down the second lowest numbered one. You're just changing the order.
Listen to this guy. Ultimate
It's so funny.
sales.
I wanted to shout out
Pressure
13
tactics.
Ghosts for our dude, Bruce.
yeah,
Oh
shout
my
it out to
gosh.
hell.
Kev loves 13 Ghosts. I don't know why. But
I used to like it. I
every
mean, I
time
like
we've
it,
ever
but
mentioned horror movies, here's Kevin to come up like 13 Ghosts out of nowhere. So
There must be 12 male protagonist ghosts.
I'm gonna put it on the list and let my wife watch it and see what she thinks. I want to watch the original. I've actually never watched the OG, but the remake I
I
never
saw
thought
the
was.
remake, yeah.
Yeah, I never thought the remake was so great.
It was
but
fine.
I'll watch it. Okay, so I'm gonna put Drag Me to Hell on my to-do list for this year.
Oh, wait, that's not number one.
I will watch it before Evil Dead 2, maybe Return
I
of the Living
believe-
Dead 2. Maybe I do Return of the Living Dead 1 this year
Yeah,
and do
but what
2
are you
next year.
doing Thursday night?
Josh is very adamant. We start this tomorrow.
He's like, it needs to happen now.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I've never watched that I've always felt like I really need to watch it.
Yeah, I
So.
would agree.
Yeah.
You need to watch it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do it then. I'm gonna put it on the. I'll put it on the list.
It's going to have one of your most favorite scenes in horror films ever.
Really.
Yeah,
That's such high praise, Josh.
it is.
Yeah, you're dangerously. You're setting him up. For
You will
failure.
remember this one scene in a movie full of scenes. You will
As most
remember this
movies are.
one scene in horror history.
Okay,
We'll not forget it.
we'll watch it, but we're
Killing
gonna do Videodrome and the stuff first. I'm telling you,
Videodrome is
You're gonna
good.
miss it.
Videodrome's the best.
You know what?
It's
Okay,
so damn
this
good.
Completely out of left field. I need to watch The Fly again. Honestly,
It's
been
on
the
my
so
list
first
for
long.
next year. The Fly is so good.
I could probably let it go until next
My
year.
wife's never seen
Let
it,
it go.
and I feel like that's a. You guys are yelling at me, like Josh is yelling at me about this one. Like
Yeah.
to have never seen The Fly is a travesty.
I agree. Also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
I'm
So
adding
the
it
thing
to
that's
list.
hard with
Damn
me
it.
when I make my lists is it's like, how do I limit them to just 1 month?
I'm
I
gonna have.
so many movies I want to watch.
I was gonna say I have more movies than I have days.
Of
not even
course.
plausible.
Yeah.
Hey.
You're talking about like what's your Halloween plans? It's like I'm booked for the next 3 years. What are you talking about? I got 80 movies I want to watch.
that's true.
Oh God.
Lucas, you've seen Drag Me to
Yeah.
Hell, right?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
What are you doing tomorrow? Watching.
Let me get it on DVD from the library and I'll watch
It's
The
it.
library.
I'm sure it's streaming for free somewhere.
I forget who we were on. Whose
I
plan
think-
were we listening to?
I think Josh is only
Josh.
watching Drag Me to Hell for 30 days straight.
One after the other.
Okay, so I don't have this big plan to revisit stuff like you do, but I definitely appreciate that. Alien is still in my Xbox, waiting to be finished because I'm in the Alien kick, playing the
Yeah.
video game.
Nice.
So that's definitely making the list. But also, and you know what? Here's some movies that I think look interesting and maybe not good. But I want
Uh-oh.
to watch Spiral this year. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yep.
I'm obligated
It's on the
to
watch list.
it. I want to watch the Wrong Turn remake. I
It's
don't
on the
think it's
watch
going to be
list.
good, but I think it's important. Like
I think it's going to
horror
be good.
history.
The reviews I've seen for it, Josh, are good.
Yeah, well, that's promising. I like to hear that. I want to see The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It, which we already talked about. I want to watch The Forever Purge.
Yes.
But is it the first Purge movie I watch? I don't know. Obviously, Candyman is like number one though for me, but I can't see it because I'm Mama myself. And then all of a sudden, this
I
weird.
think the
till
new
death
Candyman is a
popped up.
very good movie to watch with a significant other.
I can't wait to watch it. She will never watch it.
I
have to
so that, and that's why I
bound and
recommend it
gag
for
her.
that. It's a really good horror movie for people that aren't into horror movies.
Sure.
I'm so glad I gave up that fight so long ago. I know I'm watching everything by
You're
myself.
like, I'm going back to my room.
Nobody disturb me.
I'll
I will
see
be
you
watching
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Movies.
On the jokey side, Werewolves Within is something as a board game fan I've been interested in.
Hmm.
It's been getting very good reviews. Originally owned by Ubisoft. Fun video game fact.
Wow.
As well as there's a movie called False Positive where Pierce Brosnan plays like a
Pierce
I've
Brosnan.
seen that. It's on Hulu.
creepy. He plays like a weird
It's like a bad Lifetime movie.
Suspiro villain kind
Uh-oh.
of guy.
It's
like,
not very good.
it looked interesting. And then lastly,
It's not.
I would say I've also heard that Till Death is supposed to be good,
It's on my list.
but I also don't support Megan Fox in anything she does anymore.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, she's kind of a what's the female equivalent of a tool? She's a tool.
Tool.
Say a bracket?
Yeah, she's a
A nail? A screw?
If she's a bolt.
A bolt?
I've heard mixed reactions and also on-set dealings, and I know that I shouldn't take that into account because I like Nicolas Cage horror films.
Yeah, well,
But sometimes it bleeds over.
well, I appreciate you jumping into the watch list part because that was our next segment. So I'll read off a couple that are on my watch list. I'm not planning to watch them this Halloween, but these are movies that I have on the list that I'm wanting to watch at some point. I also had The Wrong Turn on there. I have The Unholy, which
Oh,
came out this year.
Dean's dad, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yep, and it's got that whole like Mary thing. It's very religious horror. I was super stoked to watch it. The trailer, I was all in. I was like, "This looks amazing," and then it came out, and the reviews were like, "It's awful," and I was like, "Well, let's wait. Let's wait for it to hit a streaming service." I want to watch Old. I haven't watched Old yet. The M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Last Night in Soho comes out this month.
Yes.
And whenever it hits like on home demand, I definitely want to watch it. Halloween Kills, which you've already mentioned. Spiral, we've already mentioned. I had Willy's Wonderland on this list. I'm not exactly sure how excited I am afterwards. Josh, I sent you this trailer a while back. There's a movie called The Night House.
Yes.
That's kind of weird and creepy and weird, and I want to watch that. The other movies on my watch list are My Heart Can't Beat Until You Tell It To.
Yeah.
The Green Knight.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yes.
Have you? Is it any good?
It's terrible.
Oh no!
What? No way.
It's
Lucas disagrees.
I haven't seen it, but I
it's
can't.
Oh, damn it, Lucas!
It's the first
I need to watch it.
A24 flop I've experienced.
Oh no!
No.
Don't say that.
But here's what I'll say to you: did you read the original Green Knight story?
You could have stopped it. Did you read?
Have you
Did you
ever read?
ever educated on the original?
I haven't. I said this to my boss, and he gave me like the most judgmental reaction that I think I've received in many years. But my boss gave me a book from a guy who like does emergency management. He's like, "This is very enlightening," and I was like, "I don't read." I stopped reading when I graduated. Like I don't read anymore. Like honestly, reading one page of anything puts me right to sleep. I'm just like, is this in audio form? Because if it's not in audio form, I'm not interested.
My Green Knight will put you to sleep.
Oh no!
I'm watching it. I don't believe you.
This is what I'll say. It is a groundbreaking cinematography-wise, 100%.
Oh, that's good.
The acting is very good. The problem is, so I went and saw this with my friend, and it was like, I think it was the first movie I saw in theaters since the start of COVID. And it was probably that, I think that was for both of us. So we went to see it, we watched it, and then at the end we kind of like quizzically looked at each other, and I was like, I was the first person to say it, but I was like, did you understand what we just watched? And he goes, no, I don't understand what happened, and I don't know why I don't understand it.
Sounds like an A24 movie.
So I went
Sounds
home
about
and
right.
I literally read 6 different cultures' versions of the Green Knight to try to understand this movie, and then I did. I did understand it after reading multiple.
That makes me less wanting to watch it.
variations.
Makes me want to watch it more.
There's zero horror aspect at all. There's no horror period.
I didn't think it was horror. I didn't.
It
I
is
thought it was
sci-fi, fantasy. Oh, it's fantasy.
Okay, I'm taking it off the list
But
now.
it does have the kid from
Never mind.
That movie. That
Nope,
Donnie doesn't-
never mind. There is a follow-up, a sequel to Horror Noir, the documentary coming out on Shudder this month, and I'm very excited to watch. Superhost is a Shudder movie that I'm very excited to watch. Have you seen that?
I saw the pic of it. Yeah.
It's an Airbnb horror movie about
Yeah.
somebody who like goes crazy to get your like and stuff. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And then I put VHS, the new VHS movie. It's getting good reviews.
94? Isn't
Yeah.
it? VHS 94?
Yeah. And then obviously I said I'm going to watch the Joe Bob, what does he call it? Halloween Hoedown
Yeah.
next week. I'm going to watch that. I hope they don't do Season of the Witch. I have an expectation to do Season of the Witch. I'm probably not going to watch Season of the Witch again. It's fine. I understand why people like Season of the Witch. I have no interest in watching it again. So yeah, I'll do the Halloween Hoedown. Maybe the Elvira thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Probably not. Probably not. I already gave you my list. My list is quite full. So, anybody else? Is there anything else that we missed before we move on?
What was? No, I think you got it all. Yeah.
The next thing that I have on my to-do list before we answer questions is our future wish list. Anything that's coming out that's not out now, just in the future, you're keeping tabs on.
Oh.
Mine's pretty simple. There's a new Scream that's in development. Ghostbusters Afterlife is in development. There's the Raccoon City Resident Evil, whatever they're calling it.
Yep.
I've always wanted a raccoon or a Resident Evil movie. The Resident Evil movies we have, I don't think were very good. Like when I first watched them, I was like, this isn't the game, you know, like, and shame on me, but having come from the game first to the movies, it was a really hard leap. I've always wanted something closer to the games.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I was hoping that this might be that. And then, again, VHS, which was on my wish list, which just came out, which I wanted to watch. But to be honest with you, I don't think I'm tracking a whole lot more beyond those, like, upcoming. What about you guys?
I agree with you. I mean, it's weird. It's not like a very like highly promoted horror year. In fact, one of the movies that's on my future to watch list was like showcased at like Netflix's E3, which was in July and it was Blood Red Sky, which was like the vampires on a plane movie. It seems like a little too over the top, but like they made it just seem like so interesting.
Does it have Samuel Jackson in it?
Yeah, we gotta get these
Get these mother
effing
vampires.
blood red snakes off this mother effing. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's a vampire film, so like, I mean, I see stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately, I think we've kind of covered a lot of the things to at least look forward to, if not like be excited about.
I agree.
There's this thing called Antlers.
Is that still not out? I feel like I've been tracking the movie for like 4 years.
I know.
Guillermo del Toro is
Yes.
Producer, right?
yeah. See, it kind of makes you think like it's kind of a warning signal sometimes because he's done good stuff, but sometimes it doesn't always hit with me. Like it's sometimes it's more style over substance, I guess. Like I think of Crimson Peak. That didn't really wow me. So that's the only other thing I see here that's not been mentioned. Other than that,
Well, I'm looking at a couple blogs real quick to see if I can think of something. The Crooked Man, which is the Conjuring thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
saw in the Conjuring 2. That's supposed to come out at some point. I don't know how
Cricket.
excited I am for that. Halloween Ends. I forgot about that. I mean, we've got Halloween Kills. Halloween Ends is supposed to come out next year. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Halloween ends
doesn't
again.
end.
again.
Does anything
Okay.
really end?
Halloween
that.
Ends for the 5th time.
I'm really, I'm really interested to see what happens next with. We've had these Michael Myers reboots. Like, what's going to happen with like Freddy and Jason? They did like the millennial version, right? And
That's a good point.
Same
Yeah.
amount of time, 2015.
I heard that there was I saw it on Twitter and I thought it was a hoax, but there might be a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot in the works.
Okay.
I don't know if that's real or not, but I saw it on Twitter and it looked real. It was like a trailer and everything, and I was like, "Is this real or is this like fan made?" I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'd be excited to see it. I know we have a question about that. You guys know my stance on that. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's one of the foundations of horror movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know how successful you can do it without Robert Englund.
Yeah,
And you can't tell that same story now.
you gotta at least give
It's
it some
just
space.
overtly
gotta do it-
gross.
You've got to do it differently.
Yeah.
Because if you
need
keep
a
it,
new
if you
version.
try to do it the same, it's just going to not be as good because of not Robert Englund. So you've got to do it differently.
Yeah,
So that's the
but
thing.
you
Like
also,
Child's
like-
Play lived because it wasn't Chucky. It was a
Right.
whole new thing, and that made it okay because it was completely different. And you can not like it, but at least it was different. Like
Yeah.
the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot was Nightmare on Elm Street, but without Robert Englund.
Yeah, but they still tried to make you like Freddy, and that is the big problem with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
You can't in post 2020 you can't put out a horror movie about a child molester who becomes a hero.
And it's so
Like,
weird.
You
It's
can't do that.
you're between a rock and a hard place, right? Because the seminal nature of Freddy is quippy and funny, and that's why we like him. That's why he stands out. Like it's humor and horrific. So if you do that without the humor, like if you do it without the enticing part, then you don't like him nearly as much. And the only other way that I think you can go with this to make it like really horrific, and I just don't know if people are down for that.
No, you don't want that. You gotta change this whole backstory at this point.
like a full reboot, like completely not
yeah.
reboot, a retelling, a completely different thing.
Just change his name. It's
Which
Johnny.
again, it's like then it's not even Nightmare at that point, right? It's a whole new thing.
Johnny Kroger.
Nightmare's hard. Nightmare's hard. I think it's Texas. We talked about this on Decade of Horror. I think it's like Texas Chainsaw. How many reboots of Texas Chainsaw? We're gonna have another one, and I believe in Fede
There's
Alvarez.
another one coming.
But it's like, how do you outdo Tobe Hooper? You can't. So stop trying. Do something else. Don't breathe. Do Drag Me to Hell. Like, do something else. Do something else. Quit trying to do this. Like, I love these characters, and I want them to live forever. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is immortal, but it's Robert Englund's Nightmare on Elm Street that's immortal.
Yeah.
You can't do it better, so stop trying. Just let that exist and do something else. Make the next Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like, make something else that's different but stands on par. And the hard part of that, that's such a tall task.
Yeah, I mean, they tried it, and obviously, I mean,
Paranormal
it was a
got
fine
close.
movie, but
Like,
it's
Saw
not
got
good.
close. Like, we've had franchises be great,
Yeah.
but, they're not the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some of our questions. Dano writes in, all right then, if this hasn't been asked before, do you prefer one-off horror movies or when done right, a franchise that lasts years? I'll answer the first one first, and it's tough to answer. I'm going to ride the fence both. I like both. I think you're more free when you have a one-off. You can kind of do whatever you want. So I like the fact that the shackles are let loose. You can kind of go crazy. But the problem with that is, like, you don't have the rewarding payoffs that you do in a long-running franchise that's taken with care. And there are certain ones, like The Purge is a franchise that I wish had more care taken. Like, there are certain franchises I wish were better, and then there are franchises that are just like God tier for me that'll never get better because they're franchises, because I have so much. And that's why I'm excited about, like, the Chucky series. Is like, maybe in an episodic format we can get more out of, we can wring more out of that formula than we have in movies. So it goes back and forth. I think with strong characters, I prefer franchises, but I like the fact that we have one-offs because we get new ideas more often. I think the thing that sucks is when we have a new idea that's really awesome, and then we immediately turn it into a franchise and ruin it.
Yeah.
And I think of things like Open Water. Like, Open Water was fucking awesome, and then we ruined. There's like 7 Open Waters. It's like, there's so many fucking Open Waters. Like, we just crush it. And just because something's successful doesn't mean you have to ruin it. Like, there should have just been one Blair Witch, and it should just live forever as the Blair Witch. And I feel the same way about Texas Chainsaw. There shouldn't be other. Like, there's just Texas Chainsaw. Like, there's just the one. So it's hit or miss. What do you guys think?
I agree. Like what you're saying, like, it takes away the, like, when you're talking about, like, these sequels to movies that shouldn't be made, like, it takes this scary story that you've heard the first time, and now they're like, oh yeah, but it's not, I mean, it's not so crazy. It's happened 7 or 8 more times to 7 or 8 more people. It really kind of takes away the pure horror of it. Like, you're like, if there's one Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're like, oh man, that movie, like The Hills of Eyes, right?
Yes.
Like, I will not forget that. And they
Yep.
made a second one. That's fine. I get it. But once you start to try to, now Nightmare on Elm Street, that works, right? Because it's still Freddy. It's still
And that's what I was
him
thinking.
living.
It's
But-
weird because, like, Michael Myers, I never want to go away. Jason Voorhees, I never want to go away. Like, those movies are easy, right themselves. Like, I want to see Jason Voorhees kill teenagers
Right. That's
over
his
and
job.
over and over and over again. Like, we
Yeah.
can make 30 of those. But the thing is, like, they're not so special and sentimental, and the character isn't so unique like Freddy. And that's where it gets hard.
Right.
Freddy's different because Freddy is Robert Englund. Jason isn't the many characters that have played Jason. Jason's Jason. He's a character. The character exists beyond the actor.
Yeah, and also we don't need a Hereditary 2. Like, that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right.
we're allowed these crazy over the top sequels because they play into the character more, but nobody
I don't think
wants,
we needed a Quiet
uh,
Place 2.
I also agree with that, but nobody wants at least a Quiet Place 2, and I know this from the trailers. tries to tell the leading up to story. So it's actually offering you something new.
Yep.
Like you watch Hereditary 2, you know in one way or the other what's going to happen or what's going on, because Hereditary was so good and Midsummer was so good is because it can only be told one way.
Yeah, I think I would hate if they were like Midsummer 2. I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's
I'm
more
so
American
angry right now.
Tourists.
Jesus. Sounds awful.
Yeah.
The only thing I can really add is I think that a franchise, I mean, you got to rely on a gimmick, right? I hate to say gimmick, and I hate to I don't want to have to defend that idea, but it really is. It's like, here is a group of movies that's based off this one idea, which means, like
It's like
you
a
said,
premise.
you know,
It's not just a
Yeah.
gimmick. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You know what you're in for. And I think that becomes less and less effective as time goes on. So as far as like horror movies that actually scare me or impress me, I think the one-offs tend to do a better job of that. Not that they're better movies necessarily, but you inherently have a disadvantage when you're making the fourth movie in a series of movies. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sometimes,
You're right,
yeah.
because it's like you say that, and I agree with you, because 9 out of 10 times you're right, but 1 out of 10 times it's Dream Warriors.
Right. So
You know, it's like
you
1
can,
out of
then
10
you,
times it's fucking amazing.
then you can rewrite it and say, all right, everything you knew or thought you knew,
Yeah.
we can use that against you. But like more often, I find that I enjoy
Scream 5.
the one-offs. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, one-offs for me anyway.
I would love nothing more than to have a Friday or a Nightmare on Elm Street like returned.
I mean, right. I enjoy
That
that.
would make me so happy if we had a Nightmare on Elm Street that I fucking loved and could see in theaters day one and stuff. That would make me so good.
Right. And that, like,
I'm just not convinced anybody can pull it off.
it's like comfort food to me, because like Friday the 13th, the fact that there's so many of them, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And that's what you're there for.
Well, it's like Jason isn't so much a character that I feel like we can pull off Jason. We can pull off Michael Myers. Like we had the Rob Zombie remake and it was amazing. You know, like there are those characters, I think, because they're not so personified, they're easy to pull off. I think
Yeah.
when you get into other slashers like Chucky, like Freddy, like they're more personal.
Yeah.
Like the new Child's Play is cool. It is Child's Play, but it's not Chucky. Right? And like
Yeah.
it's aptly named because like it's not Brad Dourif, it's not Chucky, it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. It feels different. And it's a different premise and I'm okay with it existing, but like that's Nightmare is a hard one to like base any of this conversation off of, because Nightmare, like I've said it a bunch, I feel like it is Robert Englund.
Yeah.
He is Freddy Krueger.
Well, and like Jason Voorhees almost represents a force of nature, like
Yeah.
an evil force of nature,
Yeah.
as opposed to a character.
And that's the benefit of having the mask
yeah, it
and
can
not
be
having
anything.
lines. You're not so like it, even without the lines, Freddy's Robert Englund. It looks like Robert Englund. He moves like Robert Englund. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? Like that's the problem. There's no vessel for Freddy Krueger. The vessel is
Right.
Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's tough. Rude Days 93. I love this question. This is like a great question to ask a horror movie podcast. Who do you think would win in a team fight? The original horror movie villains, Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein, versus the horror slasher villains, Jason, Freddy, Michael. I'm taking the new school.
I think it's tricky, right? Like old school, they got nothing on the new school guys because they're definitely tame in comparison. But
Sure.
I mean, if Dracula gets to freaking any one of those guys and turns them, the whole thing is flipped.
That's a good argument. I appreciate
I mean,
that. I
Frankenstein.
respect that. I just don't know if the new guys can be turned.
I mean, anyone could be.
Freddy
turned. I mean,
exists in your
come on.
dreams, but can kill you in reality. Like,
But Jason was able to kill Freddy and bring him. I mean, it's
so
a
the
little
thing is,
mucky.
I think the old school has the ultimate trump card, and it's Frankenstein. He's already dead and like he's super powerful and everything. But then you look at the new school team and you're like, but they have Jason.
I know.
And what is
would
Jason if
kill
not but the
Frankenstein.
superhuman version of Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is you almost have to look at it like as if the old school team is in the present day, because the new team is brutal, right? They have the advantage of being made in a time when it was okay to show somebody being absolutely destroyed by a sleeping bag being bashed against a tree or whatever, you know, like you're not going to see the Wolfman do that. But if you
Yeah.
think of a Wolfman who like is just ripping people's throats out like a real, like what you would think a werewolf today would do,
Yeah.
it makes it slightly more brutal and it makes it harder to make that distinction for me anyways, like because I still feel like we don't have a good werewolf movie.
So when people
you know
say
what I mean?
werewolf, Wolfman, I think of like Teen Wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, what's he gonna do? Play basketball?
Not
No, I mean
anymore.
I like werewolves. American Werewolf in Paris is a classic. It's a good one.
They've got a real tarnished reputation, and vampires too. Like, what are you gonna do? Seduce me? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, dude, get all sparkly.
yeah, exactly.
I
So
know, they don't have great representation.
I'll take my
It's-
new team.
yeah, it's a hard case. I think you have to go new team in this situation.
Miles writes, how do you feel about horror video games lately? Are you playing any good ones this Halloween? This is an interesting one because I feel like we haven't had a bunch of good horror video games come out lately, which feels weird because I feel like 5 years ago it was like kind of a thing.
They've been remakes and franchises.
I haven't said this yet because we haven't done any Game of the Year or wrap up podcast or anything like that, but Resident Evil Village was a huge miss for me. And the further away from it I am, the least it might be like my least favorite Resident Evil game ever.
Wow.
Like I didn't even want to finish it. Not only did I not finish it, I got about halfway through and I was like, I'm done with this. Like this just isn't very good.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. It's definitely in my top 5 games of the year. So definitely on opposite sides of the coin in that one.
Okay. Any others?
That's okay. What was the question?
It's just how do you feel about horror video games lately? And are you playing any good horror video games this Halloween?
Every year for the past 3 years, Kyle and myself for Report the Video Games have been streaming and playing the Dark Pictures anthology games.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be playing House of Ashes again this year when it releases that weekend. So I'm excited
hope
because
that's
I've
good.
heard they've changed a bunch of things to make it more streamlined, I guess.
Like I would
don't
love to say that I hope you tell me it's good, but you've told me the other ones are good and I didn't think that. So like I feel like I need
Yeah.
somebody outside to tell me it's good and maybe I'll give it a try. But like I wanted nothing more but to buy and play all of those video games. But the first one tarnished my opinion so
Sure.
hard. I didn't even play the last one.
I don't think these games are worth playing solo. I think
It's a huge
Yeah.
bummer.
I know. I agree because I played Until Dawn myself. I loved it
Yeah.
to death. And I thought we could expect the same for this. However, that being said, this isn't like that like, oh, it's better because it's co-op kind of game. Like I legitimately think these games should only be played cooperatively because it's more of a choose your own adventure than any other Telltale game or game that anyone else has made, because you're making these decisions independent of the other person's observations. Like if I decide to do something, I know that Kyle might not have even heard the conversation I was having.
Sure.
And then like later, so you're also trying to like rely on each other's instincts as well, which makes it more interesting, I think. I don't think
Yep.
it's like, so I'm really excited to play House of Ashes because I know that they've spent millions of more dollars to increase production and get like proper VO and proper acting, all these things, and I'm just excited to see what they do with it. And it also takes place at I would say, troubled time in the United States history.
Mhm.
And the
That's
invasion of
fair.
Iraq. So I like that they're taking a little bit of a story diversion too, instead of just the old haunted house thing.
Sure. Lucas, scary video games. You got these new fancy consoles, huh?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah,
Love
now
every
we're
minute of it.
talking.
I just beat The Last of Us. I mean, that's kind of a scary-esque game. I mean, you got these weird zombie-esque fungal weirdo
Yeah, no, it's
people.
definitely, yeah.
But like looking to the future, I don't know. I feel like we keep going in this weird like up and down where we don't get very many major releases like AAA horror games, but we get a lot of like
Indie stuff.
indie stuff or
Mhm.
like AA horror
Mhm.
games, and then it'll take a turn and we get like a bunch of Resident Evils, and like now we're having a remake of Dead Space, which I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to.
Correct. Maybe
You know,
Silent
but
Hill.
that's yeah, oh god,
Yeah.
if only, please, if Konami only does one more thing, can I
Apparently-
just-
Decade-long rumor.
According to VGC, apparently they're giving it to Kojima. Konami is giving the IP to PlayStation and Kojima to do it.
wow, that would be amazing. Because
I honestly, I don't even like Kojima games. Like, I'm not the biggest Metal Gear Solid fan. I hated Death Stranding. But there are very few things that I feel like I'd be more hyped for than if Kojima walked out into a video show and said, I'm doing Silent Hill.
It's-
And I honestly
it's
only want it to just be that. I want him to walk out and be like, Silent Hill. And he just walks away. And I'm like, oh my fucking God.
just ovations
Hill.
for 5 minutes straight.
I mean, PT
yeah.
was just so damn good that I'm like, I just want him to just,
It's
whatever
like
it is you
Konami
wanna do.
hates money. I don't understand it. I don't know why they don't want to utilize. They don't even have to make anything new.
That's fair.
the frustrating part.
They don't have to make
Anyways.
it. Just give the IP to other people. You don't have to make
Which
it.
you'd think they'd have no problem.
Like, here's
doing, but-
Castlevania. Send us a check when you're done. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
That's the one game I feel like series that they don't have a lack of entries in that.
Well, I was gonna bring that up because, like, lately, all we've gotten are a lot of re-releases of old games, which is fine. It's nice to have them. It's always nice to keep things current. But I saw so many people that were like, "Oh my God, Castlevania collection! This is what I'm playing for Halloween." It's like, those games are 20 years old, and like, no offense. No offense. Like, if you haven't played them in a
Yeah.
long time, like, by all means play them, but it's like, we should want more
yeah,
than that.
yeah.
It's
Well-
like, how many times can I play Super Castlevania?
It's funny that you bring that up too, because half of the games I'm looking forward to are remakes or remaster. Well,
Yeah.
not remasters, but remakes basically. That System Shock one that was announced like forever ago is still in the works.
I would pitch you to try the medium on whatever console you want to try it
yeah.
on. I love the medium.
I'm
I
gonna
love the
restart that
medium.
one. I'm gonna restart that one. I played it on PC, didn't run very well. I'm gonna try it again elsewhere.
Game Pass,
Digital
baby.
Foundry- Yeah, see, Digital Foundry just did a thing about how great it runs on PS5. Apparently, they've made a lot of customizations to the PS5 version. So
It wasn't bad on PC, but man, when you get into that other realm, and I was in the hotel or whatever that
Yeah.
thing that
Mhm.
place
Yeah.
is, it just ran like poo poo.
it's a really good story, which is why I think I liked it so much. I almost 100% liked it just because of the story.
Okay, maybe I will give it another shot.
Gameplay
then.
mechanics old. We've done it before. It's not groundbreaking, but the story was good.
Yeah, I liked what I played of it, and I probably put in like 4 hours or something. But Stalker 2, another sequel to
Good
something
call.
that
I'm very excited for that game.
I wanted to play the original again, but it's a little too old school.
I never played it. I'm
It's
100%.
very
I'm just excited because of the trailers they've shown since they've shown the new one.
the problem with the original, and it's really good, but the systems are very like old school PC.
It's like 15 years ago, right?
Very menu driven, very ugly in that sense. But
That
one
gameplay
thing-
demo they showed at E3 looked fucking awesome.
yes, it does.
It looks so good.
It captures the vibe that you get from playing the original.
Either of you planning on doing a Back for Blood? It's out like what, next
Yes,
week?
for sure.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Game
Left 4 Dead
Pass.
3, if you will.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
The one that I'll mention that isn't just some next entry in the series or a remake is Scorn, which has
Oh,
been
yeah.
talked about a long time, and it's what I wanted Agony to be, if you remember that game.
Phallic Simulator.
The agony is
Yeah.
terrible.
Agony is like walking simulator meets actual hell for
Yeah,
you, the
It is
player.
appropriately titled.
But Scorn just has that weird like aesthetic and
Prometheus.
yeah, and it just
Mhm.
feels, I don't know, it feels weird, and I like that, and I want to see more. But again, all these things feel like they're so far out that I'll just be going back and playing things I've already played or tried to play this year.
The last I heard, I thought Scorn, they were still committing that they were dated this year. I don't think anybody believes them, but I think they said that they were like, we're still 2021. It's like,
It's
okay,
what
Scorn.
it's what it says here. But
Lucas.
it's like,
Sure.
sure. Yeah, you're gonna come out in the holiday 2021.
December
Okay.
28th.
Great Christmas game. Thanks. Let me shoot off my bug gun or whatever the hell that thing was. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to like in this. Little Nightmares 2. There's a lot of stuff coming
wanna
down the
try that one.
pipeline, but like again, 2021. Okay, like yeah.
I'm not, here's
We'll
the thing.
see.
I don't really get I love horror video games. When I've said this a bunch on our gaming podcast over the years, coming up in gaming, such a big foundation of my video games were horror related. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Parasite Eve, Clock Tower. I did all of that like
Parasite
basically
Eve.
with Mario and Zelda. Like that was my core of my games. But through the decades, I think I've gotten either tired of the formula and or just there's not as many of them. So I've gravitated away from them. So I'm not really nostalgic for horror video games at all. Like when October comes around, I'm not like, I want to play spooky video games. That's not really something I feel like I do for the movies. Like I'm not that tied to them as much.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and I think the problem with games is that once you get so far removed from them, it's hard to go back. Like it would be hard for me to go back and play Silent Hill 2 without feeling the jankness of what the PS2 offered.
Well,
at
the remakes
time.
are good, and we've got Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, and I enjoyed and played both of them. I was glad to have them. Resident Evil 3 was a little weird. It wasn't the same, but still
But that's
good.
the thing is like we're so far removed from the feelings that we have from the originals that now it's like either they take it so far into a new direction that you're kind of like, well, it's good, but it doesn't give me the nostalgia, or it does what it did before, and then it's just like, oh, this is just an up-res like new 4K resolution of the same game I played 10 years ago.
And I'm really
know. It's a tough spot.
a thing that I've brought up. I'm really over like the Outlast Layers of Fear formula.
Yeah.
We've had so many of those indie games for the last 8 years that I could live without another one of those.
Where your
for a
character
while.
is you're not really able to even.
You have
fight
no
back.
agency. You have no fight back. It's like just to survive. Go find batteries. Go find stuff while you like run and hide and be terrified forever. It's like I'm not into that anymore. It was really novel at first. I remember bringing my PlayStation 4 home and being really into Outlast. It was one of the
I
first
played the whole
games I
thing.
booted up. I was like, "Oh, this is
Yep.
amazing!" And it's like 7 Outlasts later, just like Friday the 13th. It's like I'm looking for something new.
That's what happens when you get that indie game like where they're gonna fill in the gap of all these AAA games that aren't coming out. It's like they just kind of
Metroidvanias.
reiterate. Yep, same
Pixel
thing. They just
platformers.
reiterate upon what's already been done, and then you get burnt out. And then the AAA game comes out, and you're like, I've done this like 10 times already.
Yep. Dead Space is exciting, but there's not a whole lot to look forward on that front. Hopefully, whatever they're doing after, either of you guys are either of you excited for Ghostwire Tokyo?
No.
Like Shinji Mikami to me is like a legend for video games. Like for years, I adored his name. And when they first showed Ghostwire Tokyo, I remember I was on stream with Kyle and I was like, fuck yes. They showed like this mall and everybody was like, just disappeared and stuff. I was like, this looks great.
Yeah.
Everything they've shown since looks awful.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like I don't even want to play the game anymore. Like this looks terrible. It's like it's like Doctor Strange, the action horror game. Like you're doing all this weird hand shit. It makes people fly and teleport. I'm like, this looks I don't know who gave them this idea, but this looks awful. This is not what I want from them at all.
Yeah. I think that's what happened when I investigated. I'm like, what's this about? And then I saw that and I'm like,
It looks awful.
I don't think so.
All right, our last question comes from Mr. Nasty Boots, and it's actually a series of questions. And they're all they're all Elm Street related. Would you like to see Supermassive Games make a Nightmare on Elm Street game? I think this would be great because we could get Robert to play Freddy Krueger one last time.
I don't think it could work. So no.
That's interesting.
That's my only concern. Think of the last good horror video game.
I
That
wanted
was-
to say, my mind immediately went to, could you have a survivor horror game where you were trying to fend off having to sleep because you don't want to face Freddy, and then eventually you'll eventually run out of resources where you do have to sleep and you have to
Yeah,
fend them off to
that
like keep
sounds
going or something like
horrible.
that.
See,
Do you?
see, that's the thing. I think I would be afraid that they'd go in that direction, because I think what it needs to be is story-driven, narrative, and then they could play upon like, are you awake? Are you asleep? Like those ideas. And I think the
So you're
technology
thinking of it like
is,
almost in a Silent Hill way,
yeah, and I think
like
we
what's
could.
real.
I think we could do it now with the technology that we have,
That's
and
pretty
make
good.
it like something worth playing.
That's pretty good. I like it. If you were to reboot the franchise, how would you make it scary again, and who would play Freddy? It's like God, if we could answer this question, we'd be worth millions.
Chris Pratt.
Oh,
like-
God.
You
Oh
can't.
my God.
You can't reinvent it. It's based on such a specific thing that happened. You can't do another Freddy
Stop.
and make
Well-
it okay.
My honestly, my reaction is to stop trying to recapture lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like it happened, you don't need to redo it, but like that's not really an answer. We've been redoing this shit since the dawn of
Yeah,
time.
they want their money, so they'll
I
do a
think if
reboot
you were
they
to
can get
do it, you'd have to cast somebody who wasn't well known,
Yeah.
because then you would get rid of the stigma of like, oh, I can't really see this person in this role. And if you were to do it, you'd have to do it like low key. You couldn't be like, oh, it's the next installment of Nightmare on Elm Street. You'd have to
Yeah.
be like, is this a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? It's about dreams and stuff and like this weird. But like
I
you
looked
say,
up-
you'd have to reinvent the guy. Like
I looked up who
reinvent
could
Freddy.
play Freddy Krueger. Half of these people I don't know by their name. But
Who would
one
get-
of them I do, and I'm not going to lie, it sounds kind of awesome. And that's Walton Goggins. He's really good. I'd be down to watch it. I for sure would give it a try. Let's see
I don't
here.
think I've seen him in a ton of stuff, but like he's the kind of guy when you see him, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy for sure.
in everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
very
like
noticeable.
the guy who's number 2 or
Well, he's
3 in
just
the
funny
criminal.
enough that he could pull it off.
Yeah, he is funny enough. I don't agree to any of this, but I agree he is funny.
Don't
pull it
agree to
off.
any of this.
Oh.
Thebloodshed.com suggests Edward Norton. And I got to tell you, I don't hate it.
I don't think he's funny enough.
Do you think Elijah Wood could pull off Freddy?
Oh,
I think he
mean,
could do better than
I
Edward
think
Norton.
Elijah Wood wants it the most.
Willem Dafoe. That is somebody I think.
Yeah,
that
he
pull
could
it
be a
off.
good Freddy.
He's a little too old now, but he probably.
No, what
could
about
do it.
Christoph Waltz? Come
I don't
on,
know
the
enough.
German
I don't-
killer.
I don't know if I have seen him. I've only seen him in roles where I don't think like he's trying to play somebody who's German or another.
Here's the thing. We can try to recast Freddy all we want. We cannot tell the story of Freddy Krueger now. So we cannot use Freddy Krueger. What's he going to do? He's going to molest over 18-year-old people. And now we're after him. And now we can like him.
I think that's the problem is like if you were to try and do that still, oh no, we would run into a problem where like you either are taking it too seriously and then it's not Nightmare on Elm Street.
I lost you guys for a minute. This is
Yeah.
what I get
we
when I
kept
start,
going.
I start surfing the web trying to find something,
no.
and then it freezes. Happens a couple times.
Basically, all I was saying is like you either stick with the backstory and it's too serious and it doesn't feel
Yeah.
camp, funny enough, or you do it and then you get that backlash and try to keep it the same and it's
Yeah.
doesn't play
let's-
well.
let's fight against trying to make a child rapist likable.
Like
Let me ask you this.
allegedly.
This idea just hit me. And I don't know if this is good or not, but since we're drinking and thinking
Go
out loud.
fund me.
You remember when they did the Joker?
Which one?
Which one?
Like the new one. Like the movie The Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was just all about the Joker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you do a prequel movie where you like maybe don't even call it anything and it's Freddy Krueger's tale being told before he becomes Freddy Krueger?
Yes.
So you have a full prequel where you can get invested behind somebody. And you just call it like The Nightmare, right? And then that's the prequel to like a Nightmare on Elm Street, like a reboot. But like you at least get to know the character beforehand. I feel like something like that would be necessary for you to embrace a new character in that role.
I think
you could do a prequel, but you have to make it ambivalent as to whether he did what he is accused of or not.
You put it out there and it's like it's one of those things that gets like cult following afterwards, right? You put it out there, the label, the title, nothing says Elm Street. The marketing doesn't say nobody says this is a Freddy Krueger movie. It comes out and releases, and then like the blogs are like, "Holy shit, this is Freddy Krueger."
I'm pretty sure I said that earlier. It's like you have to make it so that it's not like the new here comes the next sequel in this
Like the
franchise.
twist at the end is like he died. What's his name? Oh, his name was Fred Krueger, and like that's the cliffhanger for the for the next thing.
Fredward.
Fredward.
I think you could do that.
The other thing that I was going to say before we got split off on our internet tangent here was to make it animated.
Oh yeah, you could do that for sure, or a series instead of just a film.
Yeah, I think that would play probably better, or at least be easier to do and not face such backlash.
Is it possible we could ever... Well, I almost feel like this is blasphemy to say. I'm not saying this because I want to. Could you give him a mask so you don't see the person?
I mean, you could, but that's more Jason now.
I know, but that's honestly why I'm saying it. Could you get away from it being Freddy by giving him a mask? It's still Freddy Krueger, but he looks different. Like, distinctively different. Give him a mask or something. Not a mask that looks like Freddy Krueger. That's not what I'm saying. Like, literally a mask that's like a different look.
Right.
Do you think it would be better to cast a series where it's more like Scream, where people are pretending to do Freddy kills? Like Freddy is dead, but now we're dealing with like a Scream.
Now there's an actual murderer who's like framing his murders like
there's
Fred.
like 1, 2, or 3 people working together to kill their friends by like dosing them with.
Here's the thing,
NyQuil
Josh.
or something.
I like it, but it's too Scream.
Yeah.
Like I like it, and then there's a part of me that's like I want to watch it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to be like, they're just ripping off Scream.
It's Scream,
It's just
right?
that.
That-
I
That's too
think people
Scream.
would. I think people want it to be Freddy Krueger too. So when
so
they
do
find
I.
out it's just other people,
It feels like
I
it's not
think-
worth it. It's not worthy.
I think you could do a burlap sack and still have the claw, and that. would be
That's what I'm
alright.
trying to say. Like, let's get away from the burned face look at all. Like, his face is burned. You can't see it, so he dons a mask. Now it's not so personable. Can we now embrace a new Freddy Krueger? It's like, is there a path to that? Or is because it's not burned face, people can't accept him as Freddy Krueger?
Give him
Yeah.
face tattoos and gold teeth.
Because, I mean, it's like we had different masks for Jason. Jason's done like 8 different masks.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If we can get it away from looking like a person, maybe we can develop a character that people can attach to.
Sure.
It's possible.
I think there's an avenue there, but this is.
I still think
why
it has to be funny.
Yes, he has to be funny.
It's got to be funny. It's got to be quippy.
he-
If it's not quippy, then it doesn't work.
But instead, he just needs to have like drunk driven into a school bus, not what he actually did.
Okay, hey, about this? Here's another idea. I feel like we're just doing it. We're just doing it right.
I mean, yes, it is better.
Here's another idea. There's no nightmare or dream stuff at all. It's not fantastic at all. It literally is a dude. His name's Fred Krueger. He's real. He's been burned, and he just fucking kills people with a club. I actually would be down for that.
That would be confusing to people.
I'm actually here for that.
no nightmare on.
Is it also Bob Odenkirk who
Like,
plays him?
it's called A Nightmare on Elm Street, but there's no like he haunts you in your sleep. You know, like
There are no dream
Fucks you
warriors.
up.
yeah. So like in that idea, like in that realm, he's just a vicious, brutal slasher serial killer
Right.
who's scary
think-
for the actions he does, not scary because he can haunt your dreams.
I think you could play with that if you if your characters were haunted psychologically by him and still play up the idea that like maybe they're not actually dying in their dreams, but they
He's
are
in their
still, yeah, they still have nightmares of him. They're not real, and
Yeah.
he really just ends up killing them in real life, but it's psychologically terrible for them.
Yeah, that could
I
work.
think you could
I don't
still
hate it.
play on that. Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's basically Michael Myers, but cast as Fred Krueger.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's pretty good. There's a revenge tale, like with the suburbia parents of, Elm Street and all that.
I think people can or at least critics can
It's
accept
different.
when you try to do something different. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
different. And I think it has to be different. If you ever try to invoke Nightmare, it just won't be Nightmare. It won't be as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Do you think Shudder could bring back Freddy's Nightmares? I mean, I think for a while there, all the Elm Streets were on Shudder.
Yeah.
That'd be a huge get for them.
They
I
could
feel
do
like, if
anything
were
they
doing
want
a
to.
project.
Horror wise.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they
For a
just
while
gotta
there, all their
invest.
stuff was on there. I think an animated series for Fred Krueger would be great.
Yeah. That would. Be
I honestly
funny.
think that's an easy way to bring him back is to do something animated or stylized.
Yeah.
You could even have it live action, but maybe like in a dream world, it's animated. So like when we see Freddy Krueger, it's all animated.
Like Cool World.
Yeah. And our last question before we sign off: decorations. If you bought 1428 Elm Street, what would you decorate for Halloween? I'm not gonna lie to you. I wish my address was 1428 Elm Street. I would lose my goddamn mind. I would buy. That's a reason. I would buy a house if it was just 1428 Elm Street. The Conjuring house is up for sale, and if they
Yes,
didn't want
it
millions of
is.
dollars for it, I'd be interested. My wife is like out of her. She's like, Donnie, you're crazy. Like I would absolutely buy the Conjuring house just to live in it forever. But I don't believe in ghosts, so like I'm not scared of. I tell her all the time, I'm like, it's just a movie. Like, what are you
Right.
actually scared? It's like just he's a doll. He's not actually gonna come to life and kill. He's a doll.
It's
It's
like
not
it's like being afraid of Jabba the Hutt. Like there's just people manipulating.
right.
Like if you knew how this was made, it's not scary.
Yes. But I looked at the Conjuring house and it looks like a piece of shit. Like all the walls and floors and
Most-
everything need to be ripped out and redone.
Yeah,
Yeah, because no one wants to work in that place.
yeah. Everyone who owned this house has died.
Yeah.
Um,
Or worked in it.
So to answer the question, if I owned 1428 Elm Street, I would actually make the house look like the model that it looked like in like Dream Warriors, like Nightmare 4, like that whole like broken down, like gray and green, like rotten house. Like I would absolutely want to make it look just like that. I'd scare the hell out of kids.
No kid would be going to that house.
I'd hire Robert Englund for Halloween.
I was thinking about that question too, and I was like, well, I'm gonna assume I'm on a street where everyone like does their house up for Halloween. I would do
You'd
no
have
light-
to if you're
I would do no lights. I would do one orange light right on the front porch,
sure.
shining over a tiny little half pumpkin bowl with one piece of candy in it.
Oh, dang.
And that's it. So every time people come by, they're like, we're at that Elm Street house again.
I don't know. Could you
Yeah,
imagine if you
just
lived on
one
Elm Street?
bowl.
Like if your neighborhood you lived on Elm Street, I'm sure there's a bajillion Elm Streets in the world.
Yeah, we have an Elm Street around here.
You have to go big for Halloween, don't you? Like you're almost predetermined. Like this is your destiny.
Yeah, you signed up for this. When
You bought a house on Elm. Like I would egg houses if they did it. Like you bought a house on Elm Street, you douche. Put some pumpkins out.
You have a responsibility.
That's
You do
right.
that.
I'm sorry you saved up for your entire life to be comfortable, but you need to decorate for Halloween.
Or move. Do one or the other. You have this
Let
or
me do
move.
it
Those are your
for you.
options. Anything else?
Nah, I think
Nope.
you guys nailed it.
Okay.
Maybe put like a claw. There's got to be a claw hand somewhere.
He has
Like-
glands. They're called knives.
Nice.
The claw.
He's got 5 in each.
Okay, well, patrons of PSVG, that is 3 hours of us talking about our favorite horror movies, video games, upcoming movies, hypotheticals. I hope you all enjoyed recording these as much as I did doing them. Lucas, Josh, it's always an honor to share the horror stage with both of you. I really appreciate you hanging out with me tonight, making
Yeah.
time for this. Your time is valuable, and I appreciate it. And I hope we keep this going Here's looking forward. I wish I had something to cheers you with, but I drank all my rum.
Oh, yeah,
But
Empty
it's empty.
bottle.
But I will say this: cheers to future decades of horror.
cheers.
Thank you so much for doing this, and patrons, I hope you liked it. We'll catch you next month. Until then, watch some spooky movies.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho! Ha ha ha!